A warm welcome to rainy Amsterdam to all of you. I'm really glad that we have so many people in the room. Amsterdam is a very nice city, but not when it's raining. I hope that you can come back sometime when the weather is much nicer. I was born here, but I have only lived here until the age of 4. But yeah, the city is really worthwhile visiting if it's not that bad raining. So again, warm welcome, not on behalf of myself as a so-called North Sea Node, but also on behalf of Roxanne Metaal and Anne-Katrien Leskouwaard. They are also here in the room, they are waving. We are, 3 of us are the so-called North Sea Nodes, and that actually means that we have our own networks, mainly in scientific institutions and government institutions for both the Netherlands and Belgium. But also to some extent with industry and NGOs. But of course, our networks are not complete, etc. So we very much value your presence here, so we can expand our networks and also have some input from you with regard to science and innovation needs. As Angela already explained, this workshop is focusing on the so-called intervention areas of the SBEP. SBEP is Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership. That's our abbreviation that we use. Yeah. Okay, so these intervention areas are central to this workshop, and all the sessions are focusing on one of them. So we hope that we will have this interaction with you to understand your science needs, innovation needs, and that we can sharpen our goals in such an extent. As North Sea Nodes, we are really looking at this from a user perspective, so the government and the scientific institutions and innovation and so on. So that's, I think, is very important to bridge the gap between science and policy. We have had yesterday in the discussions much interaction about this already, so I hope that we can have the energy in this session as well. And last but not least, I would like to thank the coordinating team for enabling this joint, let's say, event together with the Blue BANOS mission. It was not very easy to organize this, but I think for you as a public, it hope it feels efficient and time well spent, that you can have both, let's say, legs of the Horizon Europe program. There's a third one, but yeah. So I hope that you will have a better understanding of what Horizon Europe can bring for you and vice versa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisette. We will meet again, Lisette, afterwards as moderator of one of the sessions. All the sessions will be indeed moderated by our North Sea Nodes, the colleagues who are working for the partnership, connecting the region with the core of the partnership. I would like to say thank you to all of them, not only to Lisette in this case. I will quote Anne-Katrien, Matthias, Finn, and Karina, who today is not here with us, but and Rosanne as well. However, all the colleagues who strongly cooperated in organizing this appointment. And with that, I would like to give the floor to Peter Grunwald. I think the pronunciation is correct. On the German Ministry, Federal Ministry for Education and Research, he is the referent for the EU projects for oceans, more or less, including, I mean, not only the partnership, but also Blue Mission BANOS and JPI Ocean. So he is the great expert of this sector. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a great expert because I'm working in a ministry and we are always working on a very general level, and so I will do a quite general speech this morning. Nevertheless, I hope we will surely have a very interesting workshop today. Yes, I am Peter Grunwald. Like Angela said, I represent the German Federal Ministry for Research and Education. I belong to the research department for marine, coastal, and polar research. And it's a great pleasure for me to be here to join the blue economy community of the North Sea here in Amsterdam. I'm used to the abbreviation SBEP, like Lisette said before, because we are very intensively, we as Germany, as a research ministry, we are very intensively involved in the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership together with our agency, Project Management Jülich. And yeah, I think this workshop and the Mission Arena offers the opportunity to stimulate active engagement. And the North Sea stands as a microcosm of the global challenge of sustainable development of blue economy sectors. The North Sea region is the vital region, and it's very important for the economy of Europe. We all know this. It encompasses a unique blend of ecological value, economic activity, geographical complexity, and cultural heritage. The North Sea is also home of the most biodiverse and ecologically significant habitats in the world, including the Wadden Sea. Wadden Sea is in English, is it Dutch? I don't know. In German, it's Wattenmeer. And yes, the Wadden Sea is a cultural UNESCO World Heritage. The Wadden Sea, shared by the Netherlands, by Denmark, and by Germany, supports millions of migratory birds, marine species, and delicate ecosystems that rely on its shallow waters and nutrient-rich sediments. Thriving human settlements in the Wadden Sea area, exposed to its extremes, is a testament to the interconnectedness of nature and humanity. In Germany, we do much research in the Wadden Sea area, closely together with the Netherlands and also with Denmark. For example, we have a research station in the Wadden Sea on the Isle of Sylt. Perhaps some of you know this isle. It's an isle in the very north of Germany, in the North Sea, close to the Dutch border. And this Wadden Sea Research Center belongs to the Alfred Wegener Institute. It's a research institute more or less well known for polar research, which is of course supported by, let's say, my ministry. Yes, and the North Sea is one of the busiest and most contested maritime regions globally. There are shipping lanes, critical shipping lanes. The North Sea is connecting to major ports such as Rotterdam, close to here, Antwerp, Hamburg, Bremerhaven, Felixstowe in the UK, and the Brugge in Belgium. In addition to its importance for transports, the North Sea is vital, of course, for fisheries that ensures food security, yes, and the tourism industry that sustains coastal communities. Yeah, yesterday we heard already initially a lot about renewable energies. The North Sea has emerged as a leader in renewable energy, with this many offshore farms helping to drive Europe's green transition. However, the same waters also host oil and gas drilling operations. There's even one oil and gas drilling station in the German part of the Wadden Sea, and this adds to the complexity of its governance. Yesterday, I listened to some presentations concerning the Belgian part of the North Sea. Yes, and it's really difficult to bring all the different demands under one head, and yes, therefore the governance is quite challenging. Yes, balancing regional and national interests with shared responsibilities is not easy to achieve, especially when the available space is so crowded. Historic land reclamation efforts, such as the dike building projects here in the Netherlands, have demonstrated humanity's ingenuity in managing coastal space for centuries. But today we are confronted with rising sea levels. Yes, coastal resilience, human settlements and habitats and biodiversity are keywords today. These overlapping pressures make the North Sea a test bed for the concept of the blue economy. Through these initiatives, through an initiative like the EU Mission Ocean, and the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, and the lighthouse of the EU mission, we aim to restore our ocean and waters. Always it said by 2030, I hope we will manage this. To support the science to policy dialogue, we established in Germany an inter-ministerial coordination group under the leadership of the Federal Ministry for the Environment and the Ministry for Research. So we have a so-called co-leadership, and these both ministries try to make the EU mission more popular, more seen in Germany, and we try to give our best to not only to bring our projects to the mission charter, but to be more aware of the mission and to cooperate more intensively on a European scale, but also on a national scale. So I think we feel a good pressure in Germany by having the mission even to cooperate more intensively between the different ministries on our national and even regional level, I have to say, concerning Germany. Yes, whatsoever of critical importance on the path to an ocean-centered perspective on the European research and innovation landscape stands out that cross-sectoral cooperation. This is key. And there is the value of the co-creation process of the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership in support of green, digital, and social transformation in Europe. Yet the Mission Ocean and the Blue Partnership are mutually reinforcing. Complementing the Mission Ocean, the partnership provides a framework for cooperation among member states, industries, scientists, funding a wide range of research and innovation activities. We will hear a lot about this today, and we heard quite a lot already yesterday. From advances in marine renewable energy and multi-use digital twinning to the development of a sustainable blue economy, the partnership builds capacity in support of the mission also. The North Sea region, therefore, is a providing ground where science, policy, and innovation converge to secure a prosperous and ecologically balanced future. Yes, let us take this opportunity, ensuring that the North Sea thrives for generations to come. That's what we have to do. With these words, I wish you a good, informative conference today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Peter, also for the strong support from the German ministry to the partnership and to the activities we are conducting. And now I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Elisabetta Balzi. We are connected with her from Brussels. Good morning, Elisabetta.
Good morning, Angelo. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends of the North Sea. I'm very, very pleased to be here with you today, even if unfortunately I'm only at a distance, but you might see some of my colleagues there on site later today. And I'm very grateful to... Can you hear me well? Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
I would like to thank you and congratulate you for having organized this regional workshop. It's the third one that I'm pleased to be with you after the Mediterranean and after the Danube, where we really experience a very strong commitment of the communities and of the importance of this partnership. I would like to thank, of course, our host from the Netherlands, the colleagues from Germany, Peter, from Norway, from all the countries, and all the partners, and particularly today the nodes, the North Sea nodes, for your commitment and for your achievements. I would like really to congratulate your consortium as a whole, sincerely, for the great achievements of these partnerships. Also with groundbreaking initiatives, like, for example, additional activities like involving and networking infrastructures, our European infrastructures related to a sustainable blue economy, or bringing in new partners like regions. So you are also innovative in the approach, and this is very much appreciated. What is also very much appreciated is this link with a mission, as you know, and as has been already said very well by Peter as well. It's very important, these synergies among our different initiatives, particularly between the partnership and the missions in this case. And today's your event there in Amsterdam together side by side really shows this important effort of integration that we very much need to join the ambitious objectives that we have. And I would like to stress that it's as you know, it's a very important moment also for the European Commission. It's a moment of transition. The new European Commission is taking office just right now. And this is at a moment which is very crucial for our planet. We know that our continent is the fastest warming one, with record high sea temperatures, with disastrous effects of climate change, floods and droughts, which affect our blue economy and our survival and the resilience of our coastal communities. So this is very relevant to the activities. So your activities and our activities as a partnerships are particularly important now in this moment. And the urgency to act clearly informs also our new Commission priorities and the new mandates. You probably have seen the political guidelines for of our President, Ursula von der Leyen, that she announced key initiatives which are linked also to the activities of this partnership, such as the preparation of a new European Ocean Pact, a new European Ocean Research and Innovation Strategy, a new European Water Resilience Strategy. Is also a connection between the inland waters and the seas is very important and recognized also in our activities here. And a new commissioner has been appointed for oceans and fisheries. First time that we have a commissioner for ocean. We have a new commissioner for startups, research and innovation. And you have seen, so Ekaterina Zakhareva, and she clearly stated that Europe's competitiveness and its position in the race to a clean and digital economy will require research, innovation, science and technology at the center of our economy. So our Blue Economy Partnership is very important in this new context. And she also mentioned clearly in her mission, in her statements and mandate, that she will reinforce international research and innovation cooperation. So all this is, I think it's already very well a key characteristic which already distinguish our partnership. She also stressed, Mrs. Zakhareva also stressed the importance of EU research and the need for EU member states to cooperate more closely. You know very well that over 90% of European research innovation budget comes from the national budgets, and the many individual research strategy lead to fragmentation sometimes and reduces the effectiveness of research conducted in Europe. So it is of paramount importance that all EU member states and European Commission enhance the cooperation and seize the opportunities of this international cooperation within Europe and beyond. And this in here again, this partnership, your partnership, our partnership is really a model on how to deliver on this. And we really need to reinforce this continuously. There is a continuous need for coordinated and systemic actions to preserve freshwater, inland and marine ecosystems as a whole system. ensuring the resilience of the economies, of our blue economies, and the prosperity of communities, in our case, of coastal communities across Europe, and particularly also in the North Sea today. So this discussion today are very relevant. I would also like to stress that, for example, acknowledge that important initiatives such as the North Sea Greater Initiative is a very important collaborative effort among all the North Sea countries, and which focuses on climate change, energy, environmental protections, fisheries management, maritime safety, and cross-border cooperation, with a goal of creating a more connected, resilient, and competitive North Sea region. So this is also important signals and policy commitments. We are cooperating with an integrated and transversal approach in collaboration with the European Commission and the North Sea region countries, and this work is very important towards a transition for a sustainable, resilient, decarbonized, and competitive blue economy. The issue of competitiveness, you will see, it's very important in the new political guidelines. So also this competitiveness combined with sustainability and resilience. And so I think this is already a characteristic of this partnership, and certainly important to reinforce it in this respect. So the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, in close collaboration with the EU mission to restore our ocean and waters, like you're doing today, are two key initiatives that aim to promote this coordinated and systemic effort, joining efforts to reach those very ambitious objectives that we have. We appreciate so very much the synergies that you're building also among the respective communities. We really need to work all together and join forces, each with its own mandate, but still the goals are common. And so the two initiatives share common goals and objectives. They are complementary. They complement each other in terms of global and regional focus, policy and research emphasis, and stakeholder engagement. So this is a very important synergies. And by coordinating the respective actions, these two initiatives will help importantly to achieve a healthy and productive ocean by 2030 and promote sustainable economic growth and development in the blue economy. As an example, the Mission Ocean and Waters and Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership support the development of integrated maritime spatial planning that balance economic activities with environmental protection. This also includes the importance of creating digital twin, developing digital twin of the ocean. You know, this is a main deliverable of a mission. And here I also would like to acknowledge my colleague Nicola Segebert, who is also present, is driving this initiative on our side, and acknowledge the importance of the activities on DTOs, which are also supported by the partnership, which is complementary to what we do in the mission. So it's very important. This is a very nice example of how important it is to coordinate the activities and build, complementary actions that will help us to achieve the final goal faster. The Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, as we know, which is bringing 29 countries with 74 partners, and also it's increasing the number, I think, of countries. Also, would like to congratulate you for that, because it's continuous dynamically extension of a partnership itself. So this is very much appreciated. And so we want to together to clearly demonstrate solutions and common understanding to strengthen the EU international science policy interface in marine and maritime related blue economy domains. And it's very important, this alignment of national, regional, also very important, the fact that you brought in also regions with their funds and their programs, and aligning the EU research innovation priorities and bringing together science, industry, also very important, policy, and the civil society. So these are key elements that we very much appreciate in the partnership. And given the strong results and impacts of this partnership, the aim will be, I would say, to further enhance this collective ambition and working together with all partners. So this workshop is a very important milestone in our the pathway to support research innovation cooperation in the North Sea and enrich the blue economy in a sustainable North Sea interconnected environment. And by discussing the promotion of sustainable practices while fostering regional cooperation, this workshop is therefore an excellent opportunity for all North Sea stakeholders to get to know, each other, get to know, in case you don't know each other yet, I think there you have a very broad arena. But and also the details of this European partnership that beyond the implementation of yearly joint transnational calls develops a wide and important range of additional activities. I mentioned already some in the very beginning that are very much appreciated, also the pilots that you're carrying out. For the North Sea community in general, it's very important to fully use this enormous potential which is there, the opportunities to develop science policy interface actions through also the portfolio of projects to support the alignment and the monitoring of all our programs, including the infrastructure ones. This importance of the multiplication effect of synchronized national calls, but also the potential synergies of funds, including, as I said, also other funds, which, for example, the European Regional Development Funds, which are brought by the regions, also about the alignment of the programs, the exchange of among the different respective portfolio and the interconnectivity. So I would like that to emphasize, to conclude by emphasizing that the Commission's work on the EU mission and partnership is continuing, is reinforced. Our new commissioner is also mandated to ensure that the mission will meet the final goals by 2030, and it's all interconnected also with a partnership with your role across all the sea basins, and in this case in the North Sea. I would like to conclude by inviting you to save the date. In the first week of March, we will have an important week of events here in Brussels. It will be, and so the events connected to the Mission Forum, Mission Ocean and Waters Forum. At the same time, there will be a series of events under the Ocean Days, which will prepare the European Ocean Pact. So all this is interconnected. Your partnership is really very warmly invited to participate, and we will discuss really in detail, interactively, the participation. We would also like to bring together here in Brussels all the different portfolio projects. In your case, your project, the one which were launched this year, together with emission projects, together with our partnership, also at that level to matchmake and join forces. And so we're looking forward to collaborate also in the prospect of this event. We have other important events jointly ahead of us, like UNOC 3 in Nice. So an whole series of milestones that we are looking forward to build together with you. So I would like to thank you all very much. Again, I wish you a very productive and interconnecting workshop and events there in Amsterdam. I look forward to further collaborate with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elisabetta. And Elisabetta is our supportive guardian from the side of the European Commission. I missed to say this before. From the DG Research and Innovation. She is head of unit for oceans, seas, and waters. Thank you so much again, Elisabetta. And I give the floor now to my colleague, Frode Dalfil-David, from the Research Council of Norway. Is my colleague because we are working together in Brussels cellule of the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, which is an international office where we work together with a Norwegian, a German, and a French, and an Italian. It's not a joke. Thank you so much, Frode.
Thank you, Angelo. And I'll be running a bit late, so I'm gonna try to catch up. I'll be very quick, and I'll just say three things. But I also want to say, on behalf of all of us who are working on a daily basis with the partnership, welcome to this workshop, and thank you for your contribution. Why are we here? I want to emphasize this once more, that we are the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership. We are one element in a big landscape of actors working together with the mission and others. And this little group that Angelo, Julie, our French colleague Maurice, and for a few weeks more, Catherine and myself, we have in Brussels, is set up within the partnership for this specific reason of connecting and aligning and seeking synergies with other initiatives. And that includes everything that's going on at the regional level. And that is why we are here now in Amsterdam. That's why we were in Bulgaria a few weeks ago to meet with the Black Sea community. It is because we want to seek alignment, to learn from what's going on. We want to make sure that our strategic research and innovation agenda for the partnership is aligned with the regional innovation research and innovation agendas. And we want to hear from your needs and your wishes, because we will use this input to feed it into the continuous co-design of the partnership, so that these needs will be reflected in the priorities, in the intervention areas that we have for the coming years. And that is the second thing I want to say, is that we operate on the basis of annual intervention areas. They are quite stable, but we do annual adjustments, but you can recognize them from one year to another. And these form the basis for the annual calls for proposals that we organize. I won't go through them now for the sake of time. We will hear more of some of them throughout the workshop today. And you can, of course, also find more information on our website. I will just specifically mention that the fifth one there is the new one for 2025. It's not one that we'll have for the current call. Then I want to say for the calls. So we have 19 projects that are already on the way. We will hear about the Aqua Up later today, which is from the first batch of 19 projects selected in the first call. The full proposals in the second call are currently being reviewed. The deadline was for submitting was 1 or 2 weeks ago. And the third call, important, the third call is planned to be launched in September next year. So note that down for your plans. In addition to the calls, we are doing some additional activities. Not only our partnerships or consortium is not only pooling resources for organizing joint calls. We are also doing this additional activities, aligning thematic annual programming. We're doing monitoring programs. We are soon going to launch, is it in February, the call for sharing of research infrastructures. And we're looking into what role we can play in ocean observation through our knowledge hub, and we will establish portfolios of projects, both based on thematic and on regional approach. And I think I'll stop with that so we can catch up a little bit, because the interesting part is what you can contribute with today. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we are already a little bit late in accordance with the timetable, but we begin immediately session 1 and with our colleague Note Anne-Catherine from Leeds, Belgium. The session is multi-use for blue economy sectors in the North Sea. Please, thank you so much for your support, organization, and for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome all. In view of time, I will immediately invite the speaker and the panelists to come up to the front. So if you can put the slides, please, for this session 1. And I think there is one chair missing also. So if you'd be so kind to add a chair. So no, it's the introduction slide. very quickly. Yes, so you see the speakers, Olivier Dufourneau from the Ministry of the Sea and Fisheries, please take a seat. And Timothy van Acht from OG, Luca van Dieren from Deltaris, Rebecca van Hagen from West Vlaanderen, and Torsten Wilders. Welcome all. On the second slide, so we are at the first session on multi-use. It's part of the intervention area on blue economy sectors. I will not go into detail, but I invite you to have a look at the website in view of time. So it's basically looking at how we can support this transition in the blue economy. I put some keywords there. So think of decommissioning, solution-oriented integrated approaches in view of climate change. We will focus specifically on how we can improve the coexistence and the multi-use of infrastructures in this session. And I will immediately invite now, can you take the next slide? We illustrate you with two projects that you can already look at more details and get a view of what kind of projects SBEP is supporting in this area. And I will ask my assistant, Margarita, to put on the slides for our first speaker. So Olivier, welcome again. Olivier is head of Office for Marine Strategy and Planning at the Ministry of Sea and Fisheries in France. And more importantly, maybe for today, you're also the co-lead of the multi-use working track within the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative. And you're actually, I think, bringing some news hot from the press related to the latest meeting of this initiative. So the floor is yours. Olivier, you have actually 5 minutes to present if that's possible.
Thanks a lot, Anne-Catherine, and thanks a lot for inviting me today. Actually, it's very timely as we're just out of a ministerial meeting of the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative last Monday, so it's very, very fresh, and I'm excited to share some insight with you today, and just to confirm the importance for us and for the Greater North Sea Basin countries of the theme multi-use, and see how we can connect this with your work, with both within the partnership and the network. So maybe first a quick introduction, since the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative has started just a couple of years ago and pretty low profile for now. We've spent the first 2 years between countries to really set our objectives and see where we want to focus. So this initiative is country driven and voluntary, and it brings together the 9 countries that are part of what we call the Greater North Sea Basin. So you'll see it extends from Ireland to Norway to Germany and Denmark and right to France and Brittany there. So we have both countries from the European Union and beyond, with the European Commission as a strategic partner of this initiative. And after a scoping period, we just confirmed last Monday really the focus and objectives and structure of this initiative. So here you get a look at the objectives. I'm pretty sure they sound familiar to you, and they connect pretty well with the purpose of the Partnership for Blue Economy. And as it is all about developing a sustainable blue economy in the North Sea, in the Greater North Sea Basin, while really having a focus on keeping the balance of marine ecosystems as well, with a few specific focuses on the sustainable future of fisheries and food production. So really the purpose of this initiative is to develop cross-border and also cross-sectoral collaboration to really break the silos, both geographical and sectoral, and to create trust between all the different stakeholders. So now down to the multi-use. Multi-use, I would like to say, is one of the 5 working tracks that have been identified right from the beginning within GNSBI, together with nature conservation and restoration, cumulative impact assessment, knowledge sharing, and the future of fisheries. So it really addresses what has just been mentioned earlier or confirmed earlier this morning, the increased competition for access to marine space. So how can we accommodate more activities and create more value from the ocean, both with more activities, but also creating synergies between the activities that will be co-located, while making sure that we remain at a sustainable level that the marine ecosystems can bear. And how do we save space also for marine conservation? So it addresses the official objective to ensure the optimal use of limited available physical space in the Greater North Sea Basin within its ecological carrying capacity. So that's the official now objective. Within this working track, we've taken a look at what's happening currently around multi-use, and we share the analysis that you've already heard, that many things are already happening, many combinations of activities are already being tested across the North Sea, most of them being offshore wind with something else, with existing activities such as fisheries, or with new or developing activities as aquaculture up to nature restoration. But these are mainly pilot projects and hardly any really full-scale, commercial scale or easily replicable projects yet, because the reason for that is that we've identified many challenges that need to be addressed. The first one is really to change the focus from looking at specific activities to areas, and really looking at the potential of these areas, both their potential and their limits. Potential for the activities they can accommodate, and the limits being both ecological limits, but also we've identified that safety of the activities is also a very important constraint, of course, of this. Also, we will need to really look at the sustainability part. What does it mean to remain within the ecological carrying capacity of the sea? That's central to multi-use if we want to avoid just feeding over exploitation again. So that's the other part where science will be crucial. And then a lot of background work will be needed to rethink all the regulatory frameworks and licensing processes that are currently really mono activity, and that we want to make, of course, more integrated and cross-sectoral. So with this, we'll need, of course, a lot of inputs, both from science but also business, as it's a whole new area of business interactions among sectors, trying to find what's really relevant economically wise. So last thing I'd like to say that now that we're out of this ministerial conference and the GNSBI has been officially confirmed, we are about to really open the dialogue with stakeholders, and that's where this workshop today and the connection with both the partnership and the mission will be key, as we really want to hear from the field what's feasible, where we should look, and explore in detail the potential of multi-use. What's relevant? What's really strategic? Where should we start? and where should the international collaboration focus first. Also try to see what are the challenges, for you, for science, for business. Where do we, what are the bottlenecks that we need to address, and what are the new dialogues among sectors and between science and business that we could promote with the initiative. So basically, I think we're really well aligned with what I've heard today, and we're now ready to work together and mainstream multi-use, not as a holistic approach for all areas, but really to find new growth potential. Thanks a lot, and happy to hear your thoughts.
You, Olivier, and congratulations with the initiative and for declaration, I understand. So, and thank you also for already answering my first question in the sense of what role can SBEP and this community play in this new initiative? Because you mentioned a number of things that we can do there and how we can complement each other. I have a question for you, while I will also look at the audience for questions, but you mentioned that it is a voluntary initiative. At the same time, I read in your former slide that there is the ambition to mainstream multi-use approaches and to rethink licensing procedures. So could you explain a little bit, elaborate briefly on how, what the ambition level is here? Because it's voluntary, at the same time, mainstreaming sometimes doesn't work if it's voluntary. So how do you see that? Have you any thoughts to share there with us?
Yeah, thanks a lot for this question, and indeed it was really central to the latest discussions among countries. When I say voluntary, is that we will not create any hard law that will be common to GNSPI countries. Basically, all the most, if not all, of what's behind multi-use is very national processes, national frameworks, and it will remain so. So the voluntary part will be really to connect, to discuss, to share best practice among countries, and see how we can have not a unique but a coherent approach among countries, and see how if we find the way to align and move together, we can create some, I would say, business-friendly environment at a regional level, but remaining really on national processes. That's the voluntary part. Nothing will be really, I would say, completely shared and integrated, but we want to align.
Thank you. So I understand best practices, and even at, of course, at national level where things need to be implemented, we learn from each other and we look at an ecosystem scale that is relevant, which is the North Sea. So thank you. I don't know if there's any question from the audience. Yes.
Only a suggestion. My name is Faris Sansogu from the European Dredging Association, and I think from the economic perspective, so when you are talking about relevant combination, my suggestion is think in competitive economic clusters. What activities are natural allies? In France, you have Pôle de Compétitivité. I think you can extend the concept to more maritime specific activities, and that will make multi-use a natural thing for cooperation, because geographical proximity may help this activity to further develop and deliver for things, maybe environmental benefits. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Anybody wants to reply immediately? If not, in view of time, we will move with a brief pitch on behalf of Timothy. Oh, you have a microphone. Excellent.
Katrien, one question. What should I pitch, please? Is pitching ourselves. I thought we start with interview. Oh, sorry. So my name is Timothy van Echt. I represent ORG. We are an architecture, urbanism, and systems design office based in Brussels, New York, and Antwerp. I thought I only would have 1 minute. So there are 3 slides, so I'll keep my time short. So we are experts in co-creative design of nature inclusive design. For example, we did the nature inclusive design strategy for the Princess Elizabeth Island, the first energy island that will be built in the North Sea in Belgium. We do this as well in wind farms, and it will be part of the debate that we will have later on. Next, please. We designed a co-creative design toolkit to support the Greater North Sea Basin. We exhibited downstairs. We explained what we exposed and explained our model as well on Monday during the ministerial top of the GNSBI, and we co-create. I will go to the next slide, please. We co-create as well coastal resilience plans. That's what I wanted to share. Excuse me.
Excellent, thank you, Timothy. And as we said, Timothy is senior project manager. He's actually also an engineer, architect, and a commercial engineer.
Yes, I'm a commercial engineer. I'm an engineer in architecture and mobility.
And as ORG, you have quite some experience already in nature inclusive design. And it was already mentioned today a few times that we will need to review the licensing procedures. We will need to look at how we can mainstream. Some have already mentioned standards. How do you see this from your perspective? How can we make this can we achieve this in a coherent way? Because we're looking, of course, at the North Sea, but there is diversity in ecosystems, diversity in also in the objectives that we have in different countries and in different ecosystems. How do you see that? How far should we go? What would be our ambition level in this sense?
I think we should go as far as possible, Katrien, and I think you will agree with me. First, I would like to zoom out. I heard some interesting topics on multi-use, and of course, Maripacks and multi-use is the topic of this session. But maybe I'm missing a bit is ecology as a synergy with this multi-use, and I consider nature inclusive design as multi-use of offshore infrastructure as well. So that's part of my plea now, and as an answer to your question. What we see as ORG working on wind farms, both in Belgium and, for example, in the Netherlands, that we see within the tender criteria, there's already a discrepancy. For example, in the Netherlands, there is a need or an interest in investing in nature inclusive design, as, for example, compared to Belgium, it's only focusing on economy. So if we then zoom out, if we would, thanks to an initiative like the Greater North Sea Basin or the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative, we are expanding the discussion towards the Greater North Sea Basin. But if we already look at what is happening in Belgium, and for example, compared to the Netherlands in terms of tenders, and I'm not an ecologist, I already know, for example, at least I know that ecology doesn't stop at our borders. So what we need is at least a uniform and coherent approach among all the different countries. And as a part, we need as well a coherent vision. And I see, for example, comparing ecologists in the Netherlands with, for example, ecologists in Belgium, there's a completely different vision on how the North Sea should evolve. Mm-hmm. So how could we solve this? I think a broad co-creative session on ecology together with all the other infrastructural developments would be the best way. And I think the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative would be a very good tool, let's say, to develop this.
Excellent. Yes, the synergy is the word today. So it's great that the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative ended the presentation with opening this collaboration and international cooperation. So thank you. But I also hear you say something like missed opportunities in terms of licensing in Belgium, maybe?
That's correct. If I may say so, it's a missed opportunity. If, for example, you look at the Princess Elizabeth Island, which is meant or which is supposed to get the energy of the new Princess Elizabeth zone to shore, and then you see that the Princess Elizabeth zone itself, which is a huge area, hasn't got any nature inclusive design in it, while the energy island itself is now a standard in terms of nature inclusive design. I think it's a missed opportunity. And if we then look at the huge amounts of wind turbines or wind farms that will be placed in our North Sea, I think we should all start to agree that nature restoration and conservation is very important, but we should not miss the opportunity of nature creation as well. We should give it a chance. At least that's how the Dutch look at it, and I think we should take an example of it.
Thank you. You've been giving a few hints already to the Dutch. So we welcome Luca van Duren. She's senior researcher and marine ecologist at Deltaris. And Luca is also expert in looking at transitions. We talk a lot about the energy transition, but there's also a transition in terms of food, a transition in terms of nature, and also within a new context, climate change. So Luca, what is your take on this in a few minutes? Maybe a minute.
This is indeed my personal background. I'm indeed a scientist, but the reason that I'm sitting here is because of the Programma Natuurversterking Noordzee. Translated, it's the program for nature enhancement in the North Sea. Now, nature enhancement for me is a bit of a peculiar term. We shouldn't be so arrogant as that we think we can improve on nature, but the idea is to provide the boundary conditions so nature can thrive. It's a very large program, about 125 million. It's managed by the Ministry of Agriculture, what do they call these days? Fisheries, food quality and nature, but there's other ministries involved as well. The core team is also contains NGOs such as the Rich North Sea industry, such as the consortium, the EcoShape Consortium, which is a group of marine contractors that have embraced the building with nature concept. And together we're trying to set up this large nature reinforcement program, which should be additional to what's happening, for instance, in the wind farms. Like the wind farms do have tender criteria, which do have requirements for building with nature, but their remit is their own wind farm. And this is a program, it's not a research program, it's really an executive program that should really cover the whole of the North Sea, should be additional to what's happening in the wind farms. And it is also under GNSVI trying to link with similar programs in other countries which are currently being set up. So it should provide the opportunity to get really cross-border nature restoration programs going.
Thank you. I wanted to hear both of you because I sense that both of you, Timothy and Luca, you're speaking a lot in terms of opportunities. So if I understand well, okay, this energy transition is needed, but it is creating new opportunities. It can leverage nature restoration, if I understand well. So I would imagine there's some response or questions from the room. I see a lot of people in the room that are also actively involved in nature restoration and nature inclusive design, nature-based. Any questions from the room? No, not? Then, Timothy, do you want to expand a little bit more on this aspect?
I think I've made my point, and my only question would be, Kathleen, but maybe you can answer, why is there no consistent or coherent ecological vision for the North Sea yet?
Well, you're overwhelming me with this question. Sorry. Yes, I think, well, we of course, we have the marine strategy, which should aim for at least a common approach. I'm sure big steps ahead have been made, but of course, we're also working from, let's say, fragmented approaches that have been delivered at national level. So I really see, amongst others, the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative as a vehicle and an instrument to move towards this need of a common vision in that respect. Maybe, Olivier, you want to expand a little bit more on that?
Thank you. I must say that this has been discussed in the past months. Should GNSBI start with a common vision or start with practical projects? And the choice was made that we're not going to build a very holistic political vision of the future of the North Sea integrated with the blue economy and nature. That just didn't really really work that way. Well, we'll try to get there at some point, but starting with still the bricks I mentioned, collaborations on specific aspects, on nature restoration on one side, multi-use on the other, fisheries on the other, and see how it can develop and progressively bring the different pieces of the puzzle together. So hopefully at some point we'll see that, okay, we're close to having something like a shared vision, but it's not a prerequisite of the initiative.
I do think a joint vision really is required because we are already fundamentally changing the North Sea. So I think it is very, very important that all of us think about and discuss what actually we want in terms of nature inclusive design and what we want in terms of nature. Like, do we want to have artificial reefs everywhere? I mean, they look very nice, they are very biodiverse. To our human eye, they look more interesting maybe than all these dynamic sand dunes, which are maybe very rich in very tiny meiofauna, but not in macrofauna. But they do have their own intrinsic value. And just discussing what you want and what you don't want, I think you have to do that in parallel. You shouldn't wait for ages and ages before you start doing something, but it is something that is very, very necessary, I think.
Thank you. I completely agree. And I think this can be done indeed in parallel. You can start working on projects and simultaneously work on a vision. And in the end, you'll see while working on projects and working simultaneously on a vision that we can grow in the end to a coherent and holistic integrated vision. So at least that's the experience we have with bigger projects.
Okay, thank you. I'm just nudged to advance a little bit. So I do want to look at the audience because I think this is an excellent opportunity to ask questions. If not now, then maybe during coffee break. We talk a lot about, we're talking about strategy, joint strategies. So I would like to move on to our next picture, our panel member, Rebecca Verhagen. Mrs. Verhagen is a project manager for Blue Energy at the Provincial Development Agency PON, West Vlaanderen. And her focus is on sustainable decommissioning. And she looks at the needs towards the reuse and recycling of offshore wind turbines. And I heard you say that you also think we need a common strategy. So what is your take on this, Rebecca?
Yes, we are creating a vision on decommissioning because the first wind turbines in Belgium, the offshore wind turbines, they were active in 2009. So the first wind turbines will be decommissioned in 10 years or so. So we are now developing a common vision within Belgium, but we already see that we will need to talk to other countries within Europe because there is other visions. Within decommissioning, we are taking multiple factors into account. Nature is one of them, but another one is, of course, the cost. The other one is multi-use. We are looking into the fact if monopiles can be reused for other forms of alternative energy. So we take into account all those aspects and also what are we going to do with all those materials. We're going to recycle them, reuse them, whatever. So, but in fact, we were talking about nature. Nature restoration in Belgium, the law now says that everything needs to be removed, everything. Also the artificial reefs. So, but in the Netherlands, there's another vision. They say hard stop straps, they attract eco-life and it has to stay. So we have another vision. And if we talk to the industry, they say there's a lot of voices going on and still there's so many questions if we need to invest in new infrastructure to remove infrastructure to remove substrates or whatever. We need to have a bigger plan. We need to make sure that we can work internationally. So not only on Belgium, but it needs to be common vision in Europe. So that's what we are working on, and we are also giving some thoughts into that, and also giving some advice to the governments, to the federal government.
That's very interesting because there is also, I hear a tension here somehow between actively creating and restoring nature with nature inclusive design, etc., but also letting things grow and evolve naturally. Naturally, in the sense that once you have, not so naturally, but once you have these monopiles, there is no nature created there. So we have to think in advance of what we do with what we are creating in that sense. Again, I'm looking at the audience if there's any question. Not really, not directly. With this strategy and this international cooperation, are you really thinking about common standards? What ambition level is there? And how can the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership support you there, maybe? What role can the partnership play in that sense?
Regarding to offshore decommissioning, there's still 100 questions left. We still need to do so much research, and there is so many aspects to take into account. And we're only talking about Belgium. And what about the next step? We want to take it a step further, and we want to expand the project internationally. And like it was already said, we have a limited space, and we need to talk to each other, to exchange knowledge, but also to make use of our limited space within the North Sea.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Next in the panel is Dr. Torsten Linders. He's from University of Gothenburg in Sweden. I read from your bio that you also, like many of the panel members here, are actively collaborating in a quadruple helix. So you're used to speaking to the economic sectors, but also to the policy and from academia. I read that you, in fact, I read that you, well, your contribution is on marine infrastructure security and geopolitics, and you're advocating for the promotion of a strategic governance of the blue economy. I also read that you're actively involved in analyzing big data for this purpose. And what triggers me is that you're advocating an open, sustainable, and a more democratic blue economy. So I would like to hear your take on this word democratic. How do you see this? We already heard a lot about this open conversation, this collaboration, etc. So what is your take on this? And
the take I want to share with you here today is one super important aspect of democracy, namely language. I'm picking up on what you said, Peter, about North Sea being a microcosm for the global blue economy. Luca, you said that we are transforming the North Sea and that it's arrogant to say that we can enhance nature. I would probably agree with that. And yet, I think that we should use even bolder language. Transformation is the start. It's actually a new era we are entering. All that steel, all that concrete into the offshore domain. It's a built-up landscape we are creating. It's a completely new era in the relation between humankind and the sea. It's a new blue. And the cascading effects of this are impossible to assess. The cascading effects, they come from the multi-use, which we are talking a lot about here today. And but they are ultimately impossible to assess. But we must use a language that really creates the image that this is something new. The offshore domain, the new blue, it will be more like the landscape on land. The built-up seascape will be more terrestrial in a way. And yet, it will not be the same. We all of us who are, have some familiarity with the offshore domain knows that it will never be the same. But yes, for policymakers and for everybody who will want to be involved in the creation of the new blue, we must realize the enormousness of this transformation. I'm also super excited about offshore wind, about multi-use, but I don't think we realize what we are heading for. It's impossible to understand.
Thank you for this inspiring and new element that you bring in the conversation. Actually, most of us will have heard and seen that more infrastructure, more interventions in our sea also somehow make us stronger, but also more vulnerable. And as you saw last week, there were some unexpected events there, but which also led to the fact that we understand that we need to cooperate more. And I read in the newspapers that also defense and the industry are looking for more cooperation for the aspect of surveying critical infrastructure that we are building at sea. So this is maybe a whole new area of collaboration where we understand that we need each other more. So thank you for that take on more democratic and a more, let's say, participatory economy and blue economy. So again, I'm looking at the audience. If there's any question for our fantastic panelists. If not, then I would give them a warm applause because I think they really warmed up the room.
And however, thank you so much for having stayed to the time. And I give the floor to Matthias for the second session on blue bioresources for circular economies. Thank you so much. And also thanks to Matthias for having made the contact person for us and having strongly supported the organization of this event. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I will be moderating the second session, the second part of the session on blue bioresources for circular economies. And sake of time, I already asked the panelists to join me here up front. Welcome everyone. So this section is on another intervention area of the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership. Well, in this intervention area, research and innovation needs to support the transition of sustainable production and utilization of blue bioresources is the main focus, and of course still putting emphasis on the production while minimizing the environmental impact of the production while still meeting the demand for a healthy and affordable food, feed, and other bio-based products. When putting this in the perspective of circular economy, the focus is of course on using or the utilization of the entire biomass of fish, shellfish, and seaweed, for example. And as you know, there are many opportunities, challenges that come with this. And this is, of course, something that we would like to discuss with the panelists. But before going to the panel, I would like to give the floor to Abhirami Hanissan, who is the co-lead of the Aqua Up project. Aqua Up is one of the projects within the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership that was funded in the first call of the 19 projects. So please, Abirami, the floor is yours.
Can we use this because like it didn't. Can we use your?
If not, we can also start first with a couple of with a panel discussion and a couple of questions. So here in front we have David Bassett from the European Agriculture Technology and Innovation Platform. He is the General Secretary, and we also have Andrew Gill, is a principal scientist from CEFAS, the UK government agency on marine and water science. Please, gentlemen, can you shortly introduce yourselves to the audience, what your work is, what your an organization are doing in relation to blue bioresources and circularity, what the main focus of your work currently is from this perspective.
Good morning. That sounds a bit better. Good morning, everybody. So yes, as introduced, my name is David Bassett, and I'm the General Secretary of a European technology platform called the European Aquaculture Technology and Innovation Platform. I'm originally from the UK, but I'm now based in Brussels. But today I'm not talking about my own sort of home job, talking about ETIP. I'm talking about another platform that we run called the Circular Smart Aquaculture Platform. And the Circular Smart Aquaculture Platform is something called the TSSP, which is a thematic smart specialization platform. As I look at the eyes glazing over in the audience, do any of you in the room know what smart specialization is? Yes. Ah, well done at the back. But is that Angela? Yes, it is. Angela, with the greatest respect, you don't count because you know what all sorts of things are. So in short, for those of you that don't know, smart specialization, the European Union has something called European cohesion policy. And basically, in terms of innovation transfer, north and west of Europe is better at innovation and innovation transfer than south and east of Europe. We're aware of this. And so there is European Union cohesion policy to encourage innovation transfer between those higher up the European Innovation Index, those regions lower down the Innovation Index. European cohesion policy funding for the current framework programme is 380 billion euros. That's almost double the Horizon Europe funding. So it's a massive amount of money. And this is obviously central to the European Union vision of integration of European countries. Oh, the irony of being British as I go into this, but never mind. 2 years ago, blue economy was opened up as a new thematic pillar within smart specialization. So we're now able to access these tools and these frameworks for industry innovation transfer. The way you do that is you apply for thematic smart specialization platforms. Never let it be said there isn't process, methodology, and systems that you have to go through to access these things. We did that last year, and we now have a circular smart aquaculture platform to work on various thematic areas of circularity within the aquaculture sector, including valorization of byproducts, energy transition, precision farming, capacity building in the sector, and other areas. So that's why I'm here today.
Before jumping maybe to the next presentation, are there already any questions regarding this? If not, then we can now first jump maybe to the presentation of the project, and we'll come back to the panel after the presentation.
Morning, everyone. So I'm representing Aqua, one of the SPE project which got awarded last year. So I'll be presenting the co-op, how we're going to contribute to the sustainable blue economy. So I would like to take you to the challenges, what exactly the aquaculture industry is facing at the moment. So as you can see that there are crucial challenges that aquaculture industry is facing. One of the most important thing is disease spreading all over the fish farms, often necessary. It's increasing the necessity of chemicals and antibiotics that compromise the fish health and the surrounding environment. So the second challenge here is the gut health of the fish. It's often compromised with the inflammatory diseases. It's due to the terrestrial plant resources such as fish meal and also the soybean meal and other terrestrial plant nutrients often compromise the health of the fish due to the lack of digestibility, bioavailability, and functionality issues. That is the major issues in the fish farm. So what are the opportunities that co-op can bring in here? So I would like to take you what are the opportunities that we have around the aquaculture. So the seaweed is one of the significant solution that is it's sustainable, renewable nutrient which is existing in the ocean itself. So we would like to tap into the unexplored potential for the benefit of the fish aquaculture as well as the seaweed aquaculture. So we wanted to bring some nutrient from the ocean within the marine environment without disrupting any of the ecosystems or disrupting any of the wildlife. So those are the opportunities we wanted to bring. So how co-op going to make a solution for this existing challenges and how to combat the bottlenecks? So what we were doing here is an innovative solution, innovative techniques to refine the seaweed. So what we are thinking, what we are doing at this stage is cascading approach. We are using every bit of the seaweeds, leaving no waste behind. So that is the solution that we wanted to bring it here. So it's a zero-waste cascading technology that will use the entire farm seaweeds into the food system, either directly as a food or as a feed ingredient. So those are the two aim that we are aiming for. So we are also removing all the anti-nutritional factors such as heavy metals, which is accumulated often in the seaweeds, and also other tannins and phenolic compounds from the seaweeds. So that can be a more digestible form for the fish. And that will be also eliminating some of the gut related issues on the fish. That is what we are aiming here. So in this kind of technology, we can able to improve the seaweed production and also increase the resilience of the fish inside the fish ponds. So at the same time, we're also aiming to improve the seaweed-based feed system to improve the potential of low trophic organisms in the food value chain. So what exactly that will co-op going to bring here? It's the first thing is the benefit is directly to the environment. So as you can see, it's seaweed is one of the potential plant, actually sea plant source that can convert the carbon efficiently and converted them as a potential nutrients. So it is also mitigate some of the damage to the local ecosystem. So it will definitely bring down whatever the damage which is so far happened to the ecosystem will be detrimental to the ecosystem. It will be a reverse conversion will be taken place in a short term, and in long term we can also bring healthier marine. And we also aiming to bring a socio-economic development by creating new job in the coastal system, especially through the seaweed value chain. That is the actual direct benefits of this project. So we also bring this vision into reality by bringing different sea basins. As you can see, the project consortium, which consists from the North Atlantic, North Sea, and Mediterranean Sea. So we are covering all these three sea basins and bringing the seaweed, which is cultivated from all these regions. We're going to do some experiments mainly on the fish to bring seaweed as one of the beneficial ingredient, especially for the fish health. That's what we are aiming to do in the project. Thank you. to know more about our project, please follow the QR code. We have a lot more updates about the project. Thank you.
Have a seat. Are there any questions regarding the project? Yes.
Hi, thanks for that nice pitch. My name is Lotte, and I'm from the Flanders Marine Institute, otherwise known as VIS. I was wondering about the challenge that you mentioned in the beginning, that fish meal is a very unsustainable food source, and that you then want to meet this challenge by exploring seaweed applications in the aquaculture sector. But as far as I'm aware, fish that feed on or that get fed fish meal in an aquaculture are carnivorous. And then, are you thinking of trying to feed them with seaweed?
Thank you for the crucial question. This is the question we were actually addressing in this project. So we will be working mainly on the omnivorous fish as well as the carnivorous fish. So what we are aiming to do is bringing seaweed as a novel ingredient so that that can minimize the intake of fish meal, fish oil, and soybean. So what we're going to do is replacement with some substitute in different percentage to identify how well it's going to bring down the gut inflammatory disorders in the fish. That's what we are aiming to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, haven't had the chance to talk, so maybe I'll start with you. We've been talking now about aquaculture, but blue bioresources is of course more than aquaculture. It's also fisheries. And given your background and the research that you've been doing for years, what do you see as the current research needs to evolve to these circular economies and sustainable fishing and offshore wind farms that comes with that? How do you see that evolve in the coming years?
Right. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for the invite and being the ostracized partner. Trying to come back in. It's nice to come back into the EU for a change. Yeah, the really interesting question. I mean, I'm a fish ecologist and fisheries ecologist. So when I hear the word economy, it kind of makes me think of a number of things. But the circular economy makes me think of sustainability. And to me, you have to have the three pillars. And the three pillars we all know they have to be equivalent. And I think that's the thing when it comes to when you're talking about fisheries and you're talking about the industrialization of the sea that was mentioned by Torsten. So we think of fisheries as it's extracting food, it's extracting, what we want, it provides jobs. But for me, you can't have that without the things you fish for. And that's what I'd like to sort of make the point about is that one of the things that we're really keen to try and understand is we know that we're putting these things in the water, we're getting changes potentially to biodiversity, we get changes in nature, we know that. The things we fish for are also going to respond to that, particularly the more mobile species. The needs of the knowledge base are what's going on with those in relation to this activity, in relation to the expansion of wind farms as one of the key things. The expansion is very quick, it's very large, it includes not only the wind farms, the different construction times, which might have effect on different fishery species, and also the cable routes to shore and those decisions about where we go. All that is used currently by the fishing industry. It's also used by the things we fish for, and that's my point here. So we all go out and try and catch these things, but they're going to adapt in relation to that. And the biggest problem we have, and it's funny, hot off the press, we've got a paper that just came out yesterday, open access paper that I can share, which did a review of what we understand about the responses of the fisheries resource species, but not the fishery in terms of the people, but the fisheries resource species, and offshore wind. And we all assume that it's a great thing, it's going to create artificial reef, it's going to create fish aggregation, but we don't actually have the data for that. And the reason we don't have the data is because the way that we collect data on fisheries is we have all the countries that are represented here will have a fisheries department or some kind of fisheries institute. And generally we go out in big vessels, big trawls on the back, and we collect that information.
The compromise, the issue we've got is that we can't get into the wind farms now with our traditional ways of collecting the data. So we have to be innovative, which is an opportunity for those entrepreneurs in the room. We have to make sure that the data we collect is comparable so we understand the changes that are occurring. But it is quite striking. And I've heard anecdotal stories of research vessels going out to collect the data that we need and coming back with very little. And yet they're looking into the wind farms. There's recreational fishers there having a great time pulling out all these big fish. So it's happening, but we're not collecting the data. That's the biggest research need, is to understand where the things we're fishing for are, because that will then determine where we fish. There's a lot of people talk about displacement of fishing vessels, which we know occurs. Now, is that in response to the fact that the fish are moving somewhere else, or is just they can't get access into the fishing, into the wind farm? So these are things that we really need to do. And we're now realizing that, but as a regional based approach, we have to think about this because the fish don't respect the borders. So that, and not only just the fish, adults moving around, but all the different life stages. So if you think about ecological perspective, then something like the southern North Sea is a functional unit for a lot of our flatfish. So different countries have different life stages going through it, and we're all trying to get that resource. So I think that's a really important element, is that scale of where things are, but also collecting the data in the places where these things are, not assuming it's occurring. And it might actually be we're getting more production, possibly, and that would be great. Or it might be the things are just moving, we're not getting net increase, we're just getting things moving around. So the idea of nature enhancement may not be there, but we need this information to help us understand those things.
Thank you. I see there's a hand raised in the audience.
Hi, my name is Diego Del Vilar, and I work for the Lux agency, but I'm here representing the European Tracking Network, a bunch of scientists and government organizations actually looking at getting data on those marine species that migrate. And we use acoustic telemetry mainly, but GPS tracking. And this is something we are going to talk about today in our presentation. So just to clarify, that information has been collected, is stored in a global European database, and we need more tracking and tagging effort, that's for sure, but we have comprehensive data already. And this afternoon we will talk about how we are going to integrate that animal tracking data into digital twin of the oceans, and that's probably solving issues where boats are only present in certain areas at certain times. So with more permanent and simultaneously many arrays obtaining that information, I think that's the way to go for filling that gap that you mentioned. But I agree, it's an important keystone in our knowledge to fulfill. Yeah, thanks.
Just quickly, yeah, that's the part of the innovation we need. It needs that investment in the actual receivers, and we need to catch the fish to put the tags in as well. So it's definitely one of the elements. We need a multitude of approaches, acoustic approaches, sonar, etc. But this is a problem throughout the whole of the areas of the world where this is happening.
Thank you. Looking at the audience, are there any other remarks on this?
Thanks. Lotte again, also representing the European Tracking Network. But I found it very interesting what you said, Andrew, about trying to get that data, but then this also needs to be compatible to the data that we have outside of wind farms that are collected with these traditional vessels. What do you see are the next steps there and important organizations to be involved? I'm thinking of ICES, OSPAR, and do you see, I'm not sure about your contact with these organizations, that there is any motivation or will to incorporate these other newer or more recent data collection methods in their knowledge?
That's a great question, and thanks for it. It almost sounds like you're setting me up when you're mentioning the ICES OSPAR thing, because yes, we are quite connected. But just about that, we need to have that parallel. We need to have the same comparability of data. We can't just say, well, let's stop our nice big fishing vessels that we all traditionally use and start using acoustics or telemetry or something. We have to have a period of transition. We have to a novelty, maybe the digital twin. I don't know a huge amount about them. That might be a way to look at, you know, sort of model things to work out how it's going to happen. But yeah, we definitely need to utilize at the same time as we're currently doing outside, collecting data with other methodologies that can be used within. So there's things like autonomous vehicles, which can be moved around within wind farms with sonars, that kind of stuff. We use sonars on boats. So there are some compatible things, but definitely there needs to be some input and innovation, further innovation into how we can have comparability of data. And that means working with, you know, people who work with the data, fishery scientists and statisticians as well, you know, as well as the people going out and collecting the data. So just quickly on the regional approach, yeah, the ICES thing. I did want to say something, so it's fantastic you mentioned it. But I'm less tied into OSPAR, but we have colleagues that are. But regional-based approaches are now being talked about. And ICES, as an example, I co-chair a working group on offshore wind development fisheries. We were with colleagues around, particularly around the North Sea, instrumental in creating the ICES offshore renewable energy roadmap. And that is primarily about trying to get a regional-based approach, because ICES are an organisation that does operate at regional base, to look at the expansion and the development of renewable energy in the ICES region. So that's Baltic, North Sea, North Atlantic, Mediterranean is included now as well. And to set out a roadmap of how ICES might, first of all, look at the knowledge need, the data need. So when somebody showed that a knowledge hub, regional knowledge hub, in relation to the interaction between offshore wind, and other offshore renewables, fisheries from an ecosystem-based perspective. So they set their stall out. That's what they want to do. They're looking to engage. So I think there's an opportunity with what's going on here, definitely. So thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Maybe one final question before going to the coffee break, as there will be other panel discussions as well. David, in light of, or in view of this workshop, and we're trying to capture where the next project should work on, what are the innovation needs that you see at the moment for aquaculture? We talked just about the fisheries, but what do you think aquaculture should in short term really focus on and put their efforts, their focus and their effort in?
As a last question before the coffee break, I could take a very long time to answer that question. If you're like, how long do I have? It's interesting. The primary function of the European Technology Platform is to develop, well, in fact, we've got two, if you can have two primary functions, but the primary function is to develop a strategic research and innovation agenda for the sector. And that's something our platform do. And we're obviously very busy with that at the moment, because starting next year in earnest will be the development of the 10th framework programme. Just to make us all feel a bit older, I started at FP6, we're about to go into FP10. I worked with someone at FP3, that's as far back as I go. But there's a new framework programme coming, and we have a new European Commission. So there's a lot of policy work to be done on research and innovation priorities. Aquaculture is finfish, it's shellfish, it's algae, it's warm water, it's cold water, it's fresh water, it's marine, it's recirculation systems, it's flow through systems, it's offshore, and so on. So how do you narrow down research and innovation priorities across the board without me massively offending somebody in the room who I'm not talking about? However, there are guiding issues that we're all looking at. So circularity, sustainability, and profitability are issues that come in, obviously, with environmental balance and impact. I think in the concept of the circular and smart platform, which was sort of why I was invited on this morning, I think where we're looking at is valorization within the sector. It's aquaculture not only for food in terms of human consumption, but aquaculture in the provision of feed, so aquatic resources being used within feeds, and aquaculture for use in other sectors, be that extraction of nutrients, so nutraceutical, pharmaceutical, packaging, alternative uses, fertilizer. There's a whole wider suite of uses for the sector. Precision farming, using new technologies and systems. So it's exactly some of the technologies we were talking about there for fisheries, along with the use of data sets, monitoring, adaptation to climate change and location. I'm beginning to start listing off things now, aren't I? Rather than keeping it short. But basically, a smarter application across all sectors is the common trend emerging in that.
Thank you. Well, before going to the next panel, you'll have the chance to take a coffee. We're going to end the panel. I'll thank my panelists for answering all these questions. And I was requested also to maybe take a group picture before you get a coffee with everyone in the room. Margarita,
yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, very quick one. Everybody can also get you're the master.
Cheers.
Yes. Amazing, thank you. Well, I think that you shared on our
No, but that's the way I'm thinking. I had a workshop in 2015 on multi-purpose platforms and structures, and we talked about the energy island. Yeah, it was completely different. Yes, it was different. You mean the concept? The concept was completely different. It was a hollow island. It was working like that. So you empty the water, and then you need. Exactly. There was also, there was this other completely different. It's like a dam. So basically, potential to kinetic energy. Yeah. So what you do is, can I give you my presentation? Oh, I'm working on something else. After 10 minutes, I will. Hey,
Werkt het helemaal verkeerd. Dat is even gevangen. Dus als iemand dat het gaat niet goed, doet een beetje volume van de naast omhoog. Je wilt niet weten hoe die stond. Riool. Maar jij de starten van de alles gedaan. Waar is het? Als we ook iets aanzetten, dan doe ik bloed. Ik woog naar de links, maar dat ga je doen, dan zeg ik een week lang, dan ga je ook niet vol. Dan valt er in de rij en dan begint het al. Ja? Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Dit dan. Andere niks, maar ik heb echt niks gekregen. Dat is je hoofdopname.
Sorry, I'm speaking in the next session. Would it be?
Misha, ik ben even klaar. Sorry.
No, I'm speaking in the next session. Would I be able to check my slides?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is that okay because it's still shared? Or should I
work on your laptop without the screen displaying what you're doing?
I just want to check which slides were sent in because a colleague sent them in and it wasn't here. So just want to see if it's all correct.
If I turn out, take it out, then you can do everything.
Thanks. Yeah, that's
Bank
perfect.
accounts, transfer money.
No. Not needed.
Okay.
But thank you.
Ik zit terug in de intercom. Ben jij nu bezig met de procedure? Oké. Ja, als je draait aan de linkerknop bovenaan, de bovenste dan gaat hij alle vier, wat gaat hij doen? Ja, heel snel. Ja. Ja, dus heb je vier scherm zijn. Ga je op het nummer links boven.
Ja.
Ik heb er nog een document in. Er is een
The old slides. So I changed the slides, but the other slides were sent in. But you know what? So there's a lot of. I'll show you. There's a lot of.
So I was about to speaking about the three first ones here.
Yeah.
And then list for you.
But I don't think that we should have. So this is super nice, but here it's like click.
Yeah. Okay.
Click. Between.
Then it makes sense. Yes. Yes.
And then this slide I changed, and this slide I changed too, but and the slides, but yeah.
Yeah, remove all of that.
Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
all of the animation we don't.
Yeah.
And because it will be more clicky, it doesn't work yet.
Remove all.
Charge.
Then I'll put it there, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's check again. Yeah.
You're a perfectionist, right?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I like with the pointers. You always think it's so nice with the animation in the end.
Yeah.
Ja?
You had a question about answers to
Ja, wat ga je dan doen? Linksboven begin je bij de eerste twee markten. Eerst begin bij dan twee.
Email and then I to send it
present.
Yeah.
And then,
So on, I think. But you don't want to unmute yourself because they want to hear.
no, no, indeed, I am mute myself now.
Oh, sorry, you.
Like,
you-
yeah, I am unmuted.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
So you did it correct.
good, thank you very much.
You have somebody also online presenting?
No, no, but someone is listening. Thank you.
I'm here.
Should we start?
Yes.
Yeah. Is the microphone on?
Doesn't seem to work.
You press the button, it will go on.
Ah, yes.
There are two microphones.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start. We're a bit behind the schedule. So may I ask all the speakers of this session to go and have a seat here? Thank you so much. I think yes, is there. So thanks everyone for joining this session. My name is Fien de Rademaker. I'm working for the Flanders Marine Institute as well, and I will be moderating this session on digital twins for sustainable blue economies. So the European digital twin of the ocean, which is being built under the EU missions program, will be a digital replica of the real world ocean. And it's a single place where you can gather all the information on the ocean, coming from underwater sensors to satellite observations, and where it's made easily accessible for scientists, decision makers, industries, and coastal communities. The DTO can be used by these stakeholders as a powerful tool to simulate oceans under different environmental scenarios. This will allow us to model different CU scenarios and test their realistic outcomes before making informed decisions. The applications are very broad, going from addressing plastic pollution to the impacts of climate change, the restoration of natural habitats, designing nature-based solutions, and how to sustainably use the ocean's resources. In this session, we will hear two concrete applications that are being used to solve complex problems. We start with two pitch presentations on local applications developed on a local scale, at a North Sea scale, because this is one of the intervention areas of SWEP. And the first pitch is also on a project that is being funded also in the first call of SWEP. Afterwards, we have two more people in the panels, and they have different perspectives on the DTO as well. So may I ask Diego and Lotta to present the first application. You're both involved in the DTO track as scientists, and we're very happy to hear how far you've come.
Thanks very much. Thank you all for joining us today. So I'm here to present the DTO track for animal tracking. This is a project that is led by the LOX agency, but involves 10 leading different organizations, experts in the study of animal movement. So next slide. Let's start from the basics. Does anybody know in the room where do fish go and how to measure fish movements? It's very easy with it's relatively easy with large animals that surface. We can use electronic tags that get a GPS location and then can give us an indication where they are. But with smaller fish, it's more challenging, and we use novel technologies like acoustic tracking that use an acoustic transmitter that sends out an acoustic signal that can be received by a receiver. The signal can be picked up by a receiver, and those receivers are strategically placed on the seabed. Yeah, right. So when multiple receivers are deployed in one area, we call this an array, and allow us to track animals within a region. But the real power comes when several arrays are deployed simultaneously across different parts of the European seas. And this all together forms the European tracking network. And this allows for a larger and more connected understanding of animal movements across our European seas. So the DTO track project has three primary objectives. The first one is coordination of the animal tracking and actually standardizing what data sets, how they're going to be collected, what are the significant relevance of that, how can be applicable to real case scenarios. The second focus is to try to instrumentate offshore platforms and turning those offshore platforms into environmental and animal monitoring platforms, as well as other activities. And finally, is to create the DTO, the digital twin of the ocean. And Lotte is going to talk to you about that in a second. So our project DTO track doesn't work alone, and it collaborates with EU-funded projects like Straits and NordTrack. Straits is a EU-funded Interreg project where we are going to cross different gates in the ocean by deploying these regional arrays. We have deployed one in the Bosporus, one in the Straits, in the Gibraltar Strait. We have closed the Irish Sea with an array, and we have the Baltic covered with the Danish array. And they're all part of this European tracking network, a coherent network that works simultaneously and track many different species. The project also is going to incorporate passive acoustic monitoring, which is useful for tracking citizens and monitoring the marine soundscape as well. So by combining both technology and a partnership, we aim to build a more connected, sustainable future for our oceans. And Lotte now is going to talk to you about how we plan to do this in the more practical way. And her turn now.
Thanks, Diego. So currently we're instrumenting offshore infrastructures like wind farms or aquaculture cages. And in practice, this means that we place acoustic receivers next to or on these infrastructures. And these acoustic detection data that are collected there will then be uploaded to the database of the European Tracking Network, and also pipelined into existing repositories like EMODnet. And from there, this data will then flow into the data lake that feeds the engine of the European digital twin of the ocean. Next slide, please. And this engine combines high-performance computing power with a platform where everybody can make their own models. And these models will then be available to the whole EDTO community. In terms of fish tracking in general, there are many different models imaginable. But for DTO track in particular, researchers will develop models that use existing tracking data to predict fish movements. There's also another use case developed at the moment, that is a decision-making tool for offshore wind farm pile driving to take into account seasonal fish presence. And overall, the vision of this digital twin component of DTO track is to inform offshore infrastructure decision-making processes in the North Sea using fish tracking data. So this is basically where all of you enter the picture. So we would like to know from you how we can help you make more ecologically informed decisions and what part of your work would benefit from knowledge on fish migration and seasonal presence. So we would very much welcome to connect and discuss. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Diego and Lotte. It's great to hear about this and to see that so much data is collected and that you are looking for the pipeline to DTO. The DTO relies on a huge data set, so it's great to see it happen here. What do you think the challenges and needs are to make these digital replicas of biological systems? As one can imagine, there are quite some challenges and needs connected to this effort because the model and basically a digital replica's an aggregation of several models is only as good as the data that feed it. So basically, it's vital to have networks that on a large scale and continuously collect data
such as the European Tracking Network, which is an initiative that has been going on for several years. So there's already a lot of data collected. But linking to the last session and Andrew Gill's comments is that there are now new kind of regions that need more focus. And these are these offshore infrastructures, because we're kind of urbanizing the oceans. And so the broader vision is to instrument these platforms continuously to monitor both animal movement and also environmental variables. And that also links to the session before that and the statement of Timothy van Aert about the multi-uses of offshore platforms. And basically to make all of these data collections possible, to then have better models, to then make better informed decisions, we really need large-scale collaboration at the science, policy, and industry interface.
Thank you so much. You've talked already before on informed decision making. Can you explain a bit more what would be the impact of this project to the wider community?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah. So the biggest impact is gonna be better data for better management, to make better informed decisions. And the data can be collected on near real time. So our approach towards changes in the environment can be more quickly than before. I find if we combine these two aspects, the new technology and the existing partnership, we can apply our methods to new industries like offshore wind farms or existing industry that have been there for quite a few years, agriculture, and all together, we can work together to improve our practices and to be better by having better data. And it doesn't only involve telemetry or tracking, but it can be a range of other options as well. But I guess for the people in the audience, companies, we are an established network and we have experts on the field that we are happy to collaborate with you, put receivers in infrastructures and start with pilot studies. And already we are escalating to the point that we can look at animal movements at the European scale by closing those gates that we have already closed. The main challenge would be also, Lotte was talking about more technical aspects, but the funding is crucial for the longevity of the network and the establishment of the race. I would say that's the main challenge, and we instead we can provide good and better data for better decisions.
Okay, I hope you will follow the next calls from the SBEP to provide some funding for the following steps. You can have a seat, and I'll invite Patricio Mariano, professor of the Technical University of Denmark. He's specialized in marine technology, biodiversity, and observing systems, and he's going to talk about the digital twin of Copenhagen Harbor. Thanks.
Press the button.
I think it's gone. Oh, okay. Now it works. Good. Yeah. Well, good morning, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to illustrate a little bit the application of this digital twin concept in the context of maritime infrastructures or critical maritime infrastructure, specifically the Copenhagen harbor. The harbor of Copenhagen actually has gone through a very big transformation over the past years. It was indeed a very polluted industrial hub, and it became something else. So a very sustainable public space for different type of activities, including, for example, I mean, it's clean enough to have year-round swimming, public swimming in the harbor. So in this context, let me see.
Yeah.
I think you have to help me with this. Yeah. So in this context, basically, the digital twin concept can help in many ways, of course, for the sustainable ocean management, but also as a decision support tools in terms of planning new activities and new initiatives inside the harbor. which, by the way, is I think the largest harbor in the Baltic Sea. So there is a lot of space, and that's actually quite important for some of the ideas that I'm going to propose here. One element that also became very relevant is the climate risk assessment, and I think the digital twin can have a role here to define solutions for what actually Copenhagen is exposed to in terms of flooding. But in this context, as I think was mentioned before, the digital twin strongly relies on timely, high quality, high resolution observations. And that's where a key role as an enabler, automation has a key role there. So you cannot pretend to have all these observations that you want at the scales that you want, just with men going out there and sampling the ocean as we have been doing it in oceanography for decades. So automation is important, but actually it's a win-win condition because we'll also improve the observations, will allow to optimize maritime operations. And I think one element that was not touched a lot about is maybe we will improve the surveillance and security requirements for these critical maritime infrastructure. In this pipeline from the digital twin to the automation, actually in the public-private partnership, I think it's essential to unlock the full potential of the digital twin and the automation component in it, to create new ideas, to innovate, to provide new solutions. One of these, for example, is in terms of pollution reduction, but also management, disaster management, or also marine planning. The next one, please. So automation, next, please. Well, automation, I mean, you can think about it many different ways. Of course, one, it's the combination of computer vision systems or artificial intelligence with the new type of imaging systems like here. So to get observations that we didn't get before in the ocean. In this case, actually, it's a camera that we have designed to be mounted inside the fishing net of different trawling systems, and will allow basically to collect, well, the type of fish, how many, how long, and of course it's a decision support tools for the fishermen because they can stop or continue fishing in that area, but it also helps in terms of avoiding bycatch or having too much discards. But in the concept of the Copenhagen Airport, please, we have been using, of course, another element of automation, which is maritime marine robotics. Specifically, we have been using in the harbor of Copenhagen this surface vehicle, which is a small catamaran equipped with quite advanced, although cost-effective, I would say, payload or sensing systems that has enabled to produce, next please, a full digital map of the Copenhagen Airport, or at least a part of Copenhagen Airport. Maybe we go to the next one so you can actually see it in live. So the area that we've been sampling is basically the south part of the Copenhagen Airport, and there was a very critical sort of question because this was done in partnership with, if you click, maybe it starts. It was done in partnership with the Copenhagen commune, and they had a very tricky questions because they had pollution events emerging throughout the years in this region, but they didn't know where it was exactly located. So they asked us to go there and make a digital representation, actually a mapping in 3D of the area to produce, well, to support their inspection sort of procedures. And that's what we have done with that catamaran there, and mounted, maybe for those that are some expertise in observation technology, is a LiDAR combined with a multi-beam. And basically, we have a full scan of underwater environment and the aerial environment around it. And these, of course, produce a lot of data and results. And one of the main elements of this project was also that the pipeline was actually to provide this information, this mapping, in near real time. And what you can see here is that you can navigate through the map in near real time to actually also improve the inspection of this area. So, by the way, we actually found the pipe, and there was a pipe that was not mapped before, because, as I said, it was a old industrial place, and now became a kind of residential area. But a lot of the things underwater, they are not yet mapped at the level that we should map them. Once you have these maps, you can go next. Then you can actually also produce much better modeling of the area in terms of pollution. So this is actually done by DHI, which is small medium enterprise, although it's quite big. So it's, let's say, a private player. They produce this high resolution modeling using maps at high resolution. They can improve these simulations to actually detect the dispersion of this pollutant and actually alert the public. Is it safe to swim? It's not safe to swim. Next one, please. Another element of this exercise was to have this graphical interface or graphical user interface. Basically, it's a GIS type where you can actually integrate additional information. We have now the 3D map. We can have actually point source information, like you can click on that specific sensor that is placed in a specific area, and you can see the time series of that data, how it evolves in time. So this is actually done with another small medium enterprise, which is called Ubica, in a context of a project which is called Ocean Cities. And you can actually have the link there because I asked them to keep it open for a few days. One element of this actually is also important, that you can have different level of security or different level of access to the information, because some of these information are very critical. So you don't want to disclose everything with the public, but going through the cloud, actually, that could be a solution that can be easily implemented. Next one, please. So yeah, future steps, maybe you can click all of them. There are 3 or 4 points. So I think, we want to strengthen this public-private partnership, because I think there is a lot of potential for producing new research in terms of automation and robotics, but also in terms of conservation, protection, and restorations of the marine environment, because you can use the harbor once it's mapped and once you have all these details to deliver solutions at scales that maybe you cannot do. Definitely you cannot do in the lab. It's very difficult to do it offshore. The harbor can actually provide that secure environment where you can test new solutions for restoration, new solutions for pollution management, and new solutions for biodiversity monitoring, for example. So we want to expand that. And another element that I think the public-private partnership can produce in the context of the harbor is to produce new innovation. So I like to see an innovation hub in all the major European ports to produce new ideas for the ocean in terms of observing the ocean, in terms of protecting the ocean, but also in terms of this surveillance and security element performed with the autonomous solution. So that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Patricio.
I was curious about the partnerships and the collaborations with different stakeholders, how it was initiated, evolved, and if you want to scale up, which other stakeholders should be taken on board?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the Copenhagen Commune approached us because there's this very pressing demand in terms of understanding why there's pollution in a place that should not be polluted at all. And it was also a stimulating element for us to produce research in developing new tools that actually can answer that question. And I think the ports and harbors, they have that elements because there are a lot of stakeholders that have an interest in that. And actually, the more the harbor is open to the public, the more stakeholders you will have involved and engaged with different type of questions. So this public-private partnership, I think, is essential to advance on this common path of protection, restoration, and innovation for the ocean. And the harbor can really be a model for that.
Yes, a nice example, thanks. How do you think further research can advance future applications of this technology?
Yeah, I mean, future research, I'm biased into the kind of a technology type of element, and I think there is a big potential there because of course, marine robotics has become something very accessible to many. ROVs and the AUVs are now affordable. And I think there is still research that can be done to optimize the sensing systems or the sensors and the integration with these platforms. So there is a lot of potential, again, for research, but also innovation for maybe small, medium enterprises to pick up ideas and put them out there as a commercial product. So I would say that system integration and new sensing systems is the place where research is needed.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure there will be questions, but I'm going to leave it still. Everyone has spoken, and then I'll open the floor from the audience. So you can, please. And then I'm gonna ask Zoe Constantino from DG Maro. Thanks for joining us. You made it in time. And we're very interested in hearing your opinion on how the SBEP can also play a role in developing this DTO. So
thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here and to participate in this discussion about how the digital twin ocean can support the blue economy, because this from the point of view of the European Commission is a main goal. I was talking a little bit earlier in the thinking process, saying that we need to change the way that we operate in the blue economy. And we know that we need to change the way that we operate in the blue economy. We know that we need to move towards more, to transition towards more sustainable models. We need to invest in renewables. We need to invest in making our businesses with less impact, more clean, more circular. And to do this, we need collaboration. We need collaboration from research, we need collaboration from policy, but most importantly, we need the buy-in of the blue economy. The Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership has the great advantage to bring around the table people from different member states and from different orientations and disciplines, including the blue economy. And it can be a place for dialogue, but it can also provide action through targeted funding in order to build these collaborations that, for instance, Patricia was talking about. Because these public partnership collaborations are going to be the key in order to develop the innovations that are necessary to feed digital twin oceans. But in the end, what we want to feed is a transition towards economy, a blue economy that is more sustainable, and that it provides, on the one hand, what we need from the blue economy: prosperity, jobs. But at the other hand, it takes into consideration these critical risks that we have to address currently. And the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership is already doing things. I would say that from the point of view of the Commission, we expect to see more, in the sense of you're doing things that are related with the digital twins and developments in the digital twins, and you're starting to touch upon things that are related with ocean observation. And I think that there is a great opportunity there to bring the two together, because both speakers have pointed this, and I want to underline it as well. We cannot have this kind of tools if we don't have the observations and the data. And there is a lot of work that needs still to happen in observation and data, besides the investment that we have made all of these years.
Okay, thanks for this message, and thanks for highlighting the need for collaboration, data sharing. It's all very important. How do you see the DTO then evolve in 5, 10, 20 times? Sorry, 20.
I'm not going to go to 20. 20 is too far away for technological developments currently. Huh?
Let's dream.
Yes, let's dream. It's going to be science fiction, maybe. I don't know. In 20 years, you could imagine a digital space where you go in and you take things from you, like a movie. But what we hope for is that by 2030, the digital twin ocean is going to be an operational service, meaning that it's going to be open access for everybody, and that it will have made significant advancements in accessibility of data, open accessibility of standardized data. That is an issue still, again, besides the investments, but also that in 10 years from now, nobody is going to model anymore the computer. Nobody's going to model in the service of their universities and the service of their business, but everybody is going to use this collaborative space, and it's going to use digital capabilities and tools and the knowledge of others in order to advance and build upon. And of course, this requires a number of considerations. Many of these considerations are related with security and safety, There are also considerations regarding the use of open data that are becoming, under the current political conditions, more concerning. But there are ways to address this, and there are different levels of access, as it was mentioned also before. So we imagine a service that can be used by everybody, and that will provide the different level of services that everybody needs, meaning that an aquaculture business doesn't have the same needs or will not have the same capabilities to harvest knowledge the way that an engineering company that is building an offshore wind establishment will have. So we will have to cater to these different needs for knowledge and accommodate them. But again, in the point of this, in the center of this, you find the need for more openness and collaboration, because we need, for instance, the business data. We need data that are coming from socioeconomic activities. We need different perspectives of what is necessary. We need to address the needs of the coastal communities as well regarding risk and what's happening there. So there are many different considerations that need to be taken into account, and this, of course, is going to take time. And another thing is that I would like to underline, because I see it sometimes in conversations, the digital twin as a tool, as a platform, as an umbrella for marine knowledge is not going to provide the solutions. The solutions are going to be provided through the dialogue, through the policy dialogue, through the society dialogue. But there is a catalyst there, and marine knowledge is the catalyst and can play this role if used correctly.
Okay, you're talking about the needs from those different users. Do we also, from the DTO, need to develop more use cases to demonstrate what can the DTO do for them to get more people on board? Or and in which sectors is this most needed, do you think?
I think it's needed in every sector, and we have already a lot of them. I mean, we have seen two wonderful examples, and there are multiple other examples that are, some are scientific and they are based in advancing marine research, and some are completely focused in advancing the way a business operates in specific areas. I don't want to discriminate. If I would say, if I had to pick one area that we need a lot of information, I would go to coastal infrastructure and risk that is related to coastal infrastructure, because a lot of the businesses of the blue economy are affected by this. But I don't want to make the separation. We need everything. We need, for instance, models to see how new sectors like algae aquaculture can develop. We need to see how multi-space, multi-use of space is going to develop and what are going to be the impacts. And we need to ask the difficult questions also about these kind of things. I mean, make models and make applications that are transparent and that they are taking into consideration everything, are not trying to cover specifically. Again, a model is as useful as the data that is behind it, and as honest as the honesty of the people that are having the discussions.
Okay.
Are.
Thanks. I'll remember we need everything for everyone. I think Diego wanted to.
I do agree on everything that you said, but I think there is another aspect to consider. To this to work, we need to be more honest about what it has worked from what it hasn't. And you're saying about collaboration and sharing data. I've been a scientist for more than 10 years, and that's exactly what I've been doing for 10 years. And I haven't seen any difference, positive outcomes from our research actions at the local level, at the global level. I think we need to acknowledge the limitation of the methods, and we need to acknowledge what marine restoration projects can achieve. because we are not gonna get back to that pristine environment. We need to rethink our relationship with the oceans. We use the oceans to decarbonize our economies, but it's going to create issues that I agree they're unknown. So that critical view, rather than saying collaboration, 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 I think I had that in all through my PhD. It was Interreg funded, blah, 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 and we keep funding this. We need to be critical a little bit about whether it has worked and how we can, with technology and the limit, acknowledging the limitations, move forward. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. And I actually think that science takes a lot of the weight of finding solutions that are political solutions and that are economic solutions. So we all know that specific things are not going to change if we don't change the paradigms of growth that we are operating at, regardless how much science we have, regardless how many good intentions we have. So this is a difficult discussion, and it needs to be done in the context of the blue economy as well. If we want to continue to have the level of comfort that we have, or at least a level of comfort that is livable and decent, we have to make these discussions. And we have to also stop putting the pressure in science to find the solutions, because the solutions exist. They are just very difficult to implement.
Thanks. It's an interesting discussion, and I'm sure we can proceed in the coffee break. But I first want to give the word to Laurent Delorme from Italy. He's coordinator of EU projects dedicated to establishing the joint European research. Infrastructure for coastal observation, so generical. Please, Laurent, can we hear your take on what research activities SBEP can support to enlarge the development and the use of the DTO?
Okay. First, I would like to say a few words on side of Zoe about your point. I'm close to the end of my career, but I will use these few years to push for collaboration at the global level in EU in order to really be efficient all together in order to fit the DTO. Really, yeah, I think that there are many tools that are accessible, and I'm going to talk about it in my answer, so it's not on the side of the subject. There are many tools that were EU funded in order to reinforce this collaboration. We are going to speak about research, environmental and marine research infrastructures like Jericho, EMSO, ICOS, EMBRC, and some others. These are some very powerful tools to federate the European research and other stakeholders in order really to consolidate the data. And we are talking about DTO, so we must talk about the data because no data, no DTO, nothing. And really, there are some other tools that are on the way, like the EOS, European Ocean Observing System, for example, that could be a sort of super heart over the research, the environmental and marine research infrastructure, etc., etc. So there is a long way to go, but I think we must believe in this and we must use these tools as well. So let's, I'll go back to the question you are asking me. So I started to speak about the data. So in order to feed this data, we really need to ensure some integrated observation systems with some interoperable systems, and so that provides some very high quality data in order to really improve the knowledge we have in the marine environment, not especially on the coastal zone, but in the whole area, because if everything is linked from the sea to the open sea through the coastal zone, of course.
And of course, this is key for the DTO efficiency. And Jericho is working a lot in order to try to improve this in collaborations with the already existing research infrastructures and European tools and entities that are in the sea. And for example, very lately, there is an EU-funded project called Lancelot that is dealing with the land-sea interface knowledge. What's happening in estuary zone from the shore to the open seas. These are very complex areas. We saw examples very in the more than in the estuary, in the harbor, but very often the harbor are close to the estuary. It's what I'm thinking about your presentation. And as well, EU is funding a lot some federated project between research infrastructures like the Lancelot one. In the Lancelot, you have Jericho. There is as well Danubius, that is a research infrastructure dedicated to rivers and estuaries, and of course ICOS for the atmospheric exchange in these areas. And as well, we are working with the satellite communities, so with the ESA, the citizen science, and so on. So many actors that are very relevant in these areas, but it's very difficult to federate all of us. You pointed that. It's a long work and we must believe in it. So we are trying in Lancelot to set up a sort of governance for this land-sea interface zone. And I think this is a key, trying to develop some kind of automatic mechanism or established structuration in order to try to have for these very complex zones some kind of governance and more efficient mechanism in order to really go faster. Because I think that every research activities that we must be involved in now is to go faster, because it's urgent. We were talking where you were asked for the 30 years vision of DTO to be too late. We must be efficient and we must build this DTO on all the tools to help decision makers and so on faster than 30 years. I think we have 10 years. There are some bottleneck, of course, observations in the oceans. You all know that is very complex. It's very limited. I agree with you. It's sorry. It's so because the marine environment is very aggressive. So long-term series is very, and automation. You were talking about automation. This is the key, but what a nightmare in the ocean environment. You have biofouling, you have turbidity and so on, current and so on, and your automation systems. If they last for 3 months in a row, it's a miracle. So there are a lot of improvement that need to be done on the technology. And of course, the idea is to set up some decision tools for the blue economy. These decision tools, it's very hard to set up some automatic systems to feed the the decision tools, because the automated systems are not at the moment real time, if I could say. It's real time for some very specific variables, but for many others, especially specifically for chemistry observations, biogeochemistry observations, and biology observations, it's not real time at all. When you acquire the data very often for eDNA observation, for example, it takes months to get the sample back to the lab, getting the result, feed the systems, and set up a model. So really, we must go on to try to speed up the availability of the data with quality assurance at the maximum, at its maximum. So SBEP could help, sure, because it could try to promote the integration of the research infrastructures with the European Ocean Observing Systems and with all the stakeholders to work together in order really to promote specific decision tool for the DTO, with a sort of trying to involve early adopters of the DTO, because I believe that if the DTO wants to be, if we want the DTO to be used, we should involve the early adopters of DTO at the start in order to have a sort of co-design of the whole systems.
I get a lot of messages, I think, from all of you. It's very inspiring, and there's a lot still to do. I want to open the floor to the audience to see if there are questions. I'll bring a microphone, unless you want to react.
Let's go come back.
Thank you very much. It's Gilles Ricollet from the General Secretary of the Prime Minister. Thank you, Laurent, for what you said. And I would like to also enlarge the vision to the need of ocean observation. I said that yesterday, but you were probably not there, so I re-said what I wanted to say. Is we are lacking ocean observation, and we have, everybody say in every speech, the ocean cover 71% of the surface of the Earth. And if we want to have a vision and a very good digital twin of the ocean, we need the data to function the digital twin of the ocean. And yesterday I was taking the example of the forecast. If you look the forecast today, you can see that it's not very accurate compared to what we had before. And the reason is that the change is so fast that the models are outdated now. And we need real-time observation, and we need to especially get this information if we want to have a digital twin functioning correctly. So it's important to have all this network and research infrastructure, like Laurent said, Jericho, UMZO, but we need the observation going with them and a lot of the observation. And I think at the European level, where we have the first EEZ in the world, we have the largest part of the ocean covered by Europe. I think we need to work all together, and probably we need to add the DG Mare to something. We were expecting a sort of directive for the ocean observation and work all together and put in the front EOS that we need the observation for the digital twin. So we need the observation before the digital twin, and if we want to have the digital twin, we need the observation. So it's exactly the same thing to say, but I need it to say it many times. Thank you.
Can I react? Thank you, Gilles, actually, because this gives me the opportunity to give attention to the Ocean Observation Initiative. We have an expectation, and we hope that this expectation is going to be met during this new commission and during the implementation of the Ocean Pact. The Ocean Observation Initiative remains a priority for the Commission, and it's a very good opportunity through the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership that has the member states participating to enforce exactly the necessity to explain better to the stakeholders how important it is to coordinate ocean observation in Europe, how important it is to cover gaps, how important it is to minimize overlaps and optimize the investments that the member states are doing in this ocean observation. And the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership can really play a very big role in supporting this, in getting more engaged in the Ocean Observation Initiative and pushing this forward, because I absolutely agree that this should be one of the first priorities. Okay, thanks. There is another question here.
Right, thank you. Just to add in something else to the call for observation and digital twins, really important, and it's really great to see. But there's a call to be honest and the call to speed things up and efficiency. And one of the things we could do, and maybe this is where this network would work, is target the questions. What is it we actually want to be collecting data on? Because what we tend to do is we say we've got satellites, we've got digital twins, we've got these wonderful things that look fantastic. But actually, what is it we're using it for? What's the key questions that we need? And that's going to be probably at a regional scale. And if we do that, then we can say what observations and at what scale and what both temporal spatial scale do we need it at.
and it becomes a bit more kind of focused. So it's not ignoring things, but it's then getting that in that discussion early days that you need to get, you need these data, and this will feed into the digital twin. We then have to do a sort of circular element to that. What's missing from the digital twin? What then do we need to collect? But it all fits in around the key questions, to be honest, about what the outcomes could be. And it just would stop us just going out and collecting data for data's sake. There's lots of it out there, but some of it isn't very well targeted sometimes.
Just to clarify, I didn't want to sound very negative about honesty. Maybe I'm too direct, but I agree the solution, or where it came from, you gave me the solution is we need to speed it up. You're in the end of your career. I've been here for 10 years and I don't want to end up my career just seeing no progress. So kind of targeting the questions that would be ultimately my experience working in the marine environment. I have involved myself in dangerous missions in the North Sea, and waves of 3 meters going over the deck. And I've been there as a scientist collecting data. It's quite tough. And when you're out there, the question comes to me, no, the research papers, it comes to me, who is the custodian of this environment? And I'm working in the Irish Sea, where 3 different jurisdictions merge, the UK waters, nobody's land, and Irish waters. And within that jurisdiction, I have to apply for 3 different licenses to cross with the boats. And the cost of a boat these days is just like £7,000 per day, which is quite a lot for a small organization like ours. It is only because EU exists and funds these missions, otherwise we wouldn't exist. The point is, when you have the evidence, and we have a strong evidence, how can we translate that? How can we bring that to the right level at the minister level to just make a decision? When you just sit down and agree what is the outcome? When I present you the evidence, how can we 3 people come up to an agreement on what to do? And I think that's what it needs to be sped up and when it needs to be resolved, even before developing these fancy tools, or at the same time as we develop the tools. That's the urgency that we need.
Okay, I think Patricia wants to compliment to that.
Yeah, just a quick reaction on both. I mean, in terms of in all the challenges that you exposed in terms of speeding up and in terms of automation, in terms of things that can be done better, I think those are opportunities. And maybe that's my bias also in terms that I have 2 more decades to go for my research career. So I want to see them in a positive way. And I think they are, because if there is a demand, a growing demand from the public in terms of addressing these issues, those will become opportunity for where innovation should go, where new companies will start up, and where new ideas for improving the automation will arrive. In terms of the scale, which I think is also a very important point, how much we need, I mean, shall we observe everything everywhere all the time? I mean, that's impossible. So we need to focus. And I think the classical statement, thinking global and acting local, I think it's very important in this context, because we need to address these global challenges and we need to start acting locally. I mean, the harbor, again, to me is a clear example where the public can have a tangible outcome of these improved observations, of this new investment in observations. And that will immediately go back to the research, because new ideas can be explored again. But in terms of the global challenges, I think we should also not overlook to the fact that in Europe, Zoe mentioned we have activities ongoing. We have an interest, I mean, thanks to the activities that you have done over the years, and maybe I look at them also positive over the next 5 years or 10 years. But if you look at the US, for example, I mean, maybe the challenges there is different, and we need to find solutions and partnership also at the global scale to address the global challenges. One of the elements, for example, is Argo. I mean, they don't last a few months, they last years in the ocean, and they have been a game changer for oceanography and also for meteorology in terms of forecast, etc. They are at risk maybe in the future. So that's, I mean, the priorities have to be clear for the community, and we need first to address these priorities and then try to use these as opportunities for development.
Answer, yeah. you were mentioning as you talked as well, you were mentioning how to really optimize the observation systems. So research infrastructures are exactly what they are exactly trying to answer to this, because let's talk about Jericho. We are covering the whole coastal borders of Europe, but we have structured the European coastal zones in many sites, and for each site, all the countries that are working on that site are discussing all together what are the scientific needs, the scientific knowledge that should be improved, and then the observation system, step by step, should be optimized for these scientific objectives, etc., etc., etc. So it's one tool that does exist, and that is being implemented step by step by the European Commission, helping to form these mechanisms. Thanks. That's one answer.
Thank you very much. I think we need to close the session here, but a warm applause, please, for our
Works? Yeah, okay. Okay. Now it does. Okay, thank you so much to our speakers for this living debate, which shows the updatings in the research and in the policy decisions and the urgency to go forward. I think we have today another opportunity to discuss on this, and this is the good news. And also thank again to Finn for her moderation and for the support also given in the organization of this workshop. And now I give the floor again to our colleague Lisette for the managing sea uses for a thriving North Sea. And we can continue to go on. We are almost in accordance with the timing, but I think we can remain also some minutes after 1 o'clock when the lunch will begin. So just to conclude the speech. Thank you so much.
Does this work? Yeah, it does. Thank you again for introducing this session. It is indeed called Managing Sea Uses for a Thriving North Sea, and we will address to some extent where the data go, because we need the data and we do something with the data. Well, actually, we need to be a bit creative because our moderator turned ill, so actually we're the 3 presenters. I'll try to moderate the session, but we have prepared this session beforehand, so I think we'll moderate ourselves quite efficiently. I would like to introduce the speakers, Ulrich Schäffler from the Bundesamt für Hydrologie und Seeschifffahrt und Hydrologie, yeah, BSH. And your topic is marine spatial planning, monitoring and evaluation thereof, and how important this is to evaluate the plans. And Paris Saint-Jean-Blum, you're from the European Dredging Association, and you're an expert in sustainable dredging and the importance of EU collaboration and steer in this area. I'd like to give you the floor to present yourself, but first I think I have to present myself and what my topic would be. I work for the Dutch government, but also I'm very active in OSPAR, which is a multilateral treaty for the protection of the Northeast Atlantic environment. This is very much overlapping with the MSFD, the aims of the MSFD is also to achieve good environmental status and at the same time ensure that human uses acts within some kind of ecological envelope. And the ecological envelope is what we call good environmental status. It's still under development what actually good environmental status is about. It's not easy, but it contains of 11 descriptors, including pressures and also ecosystem component status, I would say. I won't go the 11 descriptors again. I did that yesterday to some session. I hope that you are a bit aware of this. So the cycle, what we do is to use data, all the data that we can get, and we have some requirements on those data. They have to be quality controlled, they have to be comparable, etc., etc. So we are a critical user of data in OSPAR and the MSRP. And we do an assessment of the ecosystem status of all of these 11 descriptors and what kinds of criteria they're under. And what we do next is to adjust our monitoring system to even better monitor the status and human activities pressures. And then the next step is to adjust the measures program. And this is an adaptive management cycle. So we do this every 6 years, and each time we need more data and new data and to update the time trends, etc., etc. This is a huge undertaking, I have to say. I've been involved myself in the OSPAR collaboration to have a joint assessment of the marine environment, which was the quality status report 2023. You see the QR code over there if you are interested. And based on that, we need to identify what our knowledge gaps are, because we know the knowledge gaps, and we can communicate the knowledge gaps. We can also invite external scientists to join forces and to create new knowledge that we can use for the next assessment cycle. So this is under preparation and update of the OSPAR Science Needs Agenda. There's another QR code to the right, and it's the previous one, 2018. Other regions with sea conventions are also doing this. For instance, Helping has updated their Science Needs Agenda. It's very informative to go there to look at these knowledge gaps. And we're also at the EU level working on developing an EU Science Needs Agenda for the MSFP implementation. So this is my area of work. I can say much more about this, but I don't want to. Could you please, Ulrich, give some short presentation about your interest? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if you have the presentation ready. Oh, I can start talking. Yeah, I'm Ulrich. I'm from the Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency in Germany. I need to stress we are a federal agency. That means our mandate is for the EEZ, not for the territorial waters, which are under the respective federal states, coastal states. As an agency, we are tasked with many activities in terms of regulation. Regulation, so we're the main offshore regulator. We prepare the maritime spatial plans for the EEZ, the German EEZ, the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. And also crucial here, we prepare the wind energy plans, development plans for wind energy, also in the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, and are the licensing authority for offshore wind energy. Can I have the next slide? So I'm here, and thanks for the invitation to be here, to talk a bit about monitoring and evaluation of maritime spatial plans. This is a bit of a fuzzy area also to us. It is new. So in 2021, by the MSP directive by the EU on maritime spatial planning, all the member states were tasked to have a maritime spatial plan for their areas prepared. I think almost every country achieved that. And also the directive tells us after 10 years to evaluate the plans, to see, do we need to revise them? Not, you can say 10 years is a long time. Yes and no. On the one hand, it might be short. On the other hand, it also, if a plan at least stands for 10 years, it gives some security for the industry, like we're not changing every year. and come up with a totally different MSP, and then you also do not have planning security. Usually the countries will adopt that 10-year cycle into their national legislation. In Germany, we have this specific case that after 5 years, we have to evaluate the plan. And now the big question, well, what does that actually mean? So what is M&E of a spatial plan? And I do admit we are quite at the start of that, so I mainly brought questions to here. But as a starting point, we do see MSP as a tool for managing the seas, and then indirectly also as a tool to promote sustainable development of the blue economy at sea. And how are we doing that? So the maritime spatial plans allocate space for human activities, for economic activities, and it usually regulates the interactions between these activities. So we say in this place you can do that, and maybe that as well. So also we are now doing the multi-use thing. And maybe you can do activity A, but B is not allowed, or only between August and September because of. So this is all in the plan already. But the plan, of course, and the M&E does not only focus on the human activities, but also on the marine environment. So we have provision in all our MSPs in the EU to promote the healthy state of the marine environment. When we have these provisions, we also need to monitor these provisions. So do these activities, these economic activities, have a significant impact, or do they do harm for the marine environment? And that needs to be monitored. So the monitoring separated from the evaluation, monitoring is the constant looking, how is the plan being implemented when it comes to the marine environment? Do our provisions actually harm the marine environment? Do we have too ambitious targets on human activities like offshore wind? How does that impact the marine environment? So in a way, we need to ask the question, okay, in the plan we have objectives, and these objectives will lead to an intended impact, and we need to answer these questions. So the constant monitoring, and we're still developing that, we will need to give answers. Do our provisions fulfill these objectives? So give an example, we have shipping lanes, or we have designation for shipping. That means it's not the autobahn for the ships, because according to UNCLOS, they can sail where they want, but they cannot sail in a wind park for safety reasons. So we have our designations for shipping to promote the ease and safety of shipping. So that means keep these areas free of fixed infrastructure. And then we can say, okay, is this happening? Usually it does, because we do regulate that. But the impact would be, and now we come to the blue economy, if we secure the ease and safety of shipping through a secured network of shipping lanes, that then contributes to the marine shipping economy, or to economy as a whole. I did mention we also monitor the marine environment to see that these provisions we put in the plan do not significantly impact the marine environment. Through this M&E, we then have an idea, or we have an understanding if necessary adaptations of the plan are needed. And we can do that, or in Germany we can do that, so we can say, okay, we need to something else on shipping without changing the whole plan, or even on lower level planning, like our wind park planning, we can make adjustments there in the spirit of the maritime spatial plan. Yeah, and I mentioned it after 5 years, and that's why we will be very, very busy next year to come up with our evaluation report in 2026. Does our plan work? Do we meet our objectives? And are we basically steering on the right course? And coming back to, well, we are all talking North Sea and sea basins wide view. And with that, I want to end. Also, the plan needs then to achieve that we are without conflict with our neighboring countries, that all of our plans are coherent to each other, and that our implementation of the German plan do not impede on the implementation of the plans in the neighboring countries. And with that, I will come to an end. Thank you.
upload my presentation. I'll stand here because I like to see what I'm saying.
You can also change.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you very much for inviting me. So I will be presenting a little bit of our activities. I like to say, well, first of all, who is UDA? UDA is a lobby organization representing the sector of the dredging companies. We are 30 years old, and in Europe, we are still world leaders. So these are the key messages. And our turnover is very small. It's a niche market, but we are still, as I said, world leaders. So what are we doing? In fact, dredgers would not exist without other maritime activities. We are facilitators of other activities. So ports need expansion. Sometimes they are surrounded by populated areas. We can reclaim land and sea. Typical example is a bit further south, the expansion of Rotterdam. Several expansions over the time. In every expansion went further and further into the sea. We facilitate the installation, stabilization of, let's say, offshore oil and gas installation. We built the multi-purpose island that was mentioned earlier today, the Elizabeth Island. So the current design was totally different than in about 2015, where it was a different idea of an energy island. We also facilitate, let's say, the navigation channel that Ulrich just mentioned. So navigational depth is important for these passages and for the safety. We can also do aggregate mining, maintenance, dredging is what I just mentioned, navigational depth, and leisure infrastructure. So we are facilitating all these activities, but we have built a knowledge and technology that can be implemented in different contexts, and in particular now with the Green Deal, we can restore marine habitats, and particularly I'm thinking of blue carbon habitats, which have a strong capacity to store, let's say, CO2 for the capture and store for long term. We are also heavily involved in the installation and maintenance of offshore wind farms. Environmental dredging is what we call it, but it's remediation. So when you have heavily polluted areas in ports or in rivers, we can remove the sediments and help decontaminate or sanitize the area, because these are going into confinement. For climate change adaptation, we need to say that we are capable of protecting or building coastal protection against sea level rise, storm protection, flood protection. And I refer to Luca, who mentioned it briefly, but she mentioned EcoShape. EcoShape is a Dutch initiative that promotes building with nature. And we have a significant impact on nature. So we have been reflecting a lot on how can we improve our environmental footprint. And this is a method that integrates the forces of nature, being physical or biological, into the project design. And there I'm linking with Ulrich. So we really need to plan properly so that afterwards, when you implement the project, you integrate it better, or more harmlessly, more harmoniously into nature. And potentially, if the project allows, you can also give something to nature and increase the level of ecosystem services. Here are some examples where, let's say, a building with nature can contribute to the 6 objectives of the green taxonomy. That's another big animal from the Commission, but the 6 objectives are climate change mitigation and adaptation, water quality, biodiversity, circular economy, and pollution reduction. I'm not dwelling too much on the details because of time, but I want to emphasize this element. What we need to improve nature-based solutions, or let's say building with nature project, fundamentally is the research need we have is governance. At the moment, innovation-friendly framework is needed. And what do I understand with it? So we need the multidisciplinarity first in the design phase to be working. I was talking to the previous speaker there from the ORG. And fundamentally, you need to understand each other in a multidisciplinary team. And to do that, you need to transfer some knowledge. When you communicate with each other, you can, after understanding each other, maybe build trust. And after you build trust, then we can co-design, co-create, and you are ready to put the money where your mouth is. So fundamentally, cooperation is not natural between disciplines or between stakeholders, because stakeholders understand each other in their groups, but between groups it's complicated, not because they don't talk to each other, but because they don't understand each other. And once this is done, then we can go to the building with nature. And I didn't introduce the slide, but fundamentally what we are is problem solving companies, solution oriented. So if there were no problems and no activity, we would not have a job. But we come in and propose jobs, and we propose also to think together. Constructive stakeholders, and I mentioned also the need for innovation-friendly governance. The issues are deeper than what we think, because we mentioned earlier nature. So when you look at the cost of a project, you usually think project phase, building phase, but you need to look at the life cycle, which means operation and decommissioning. We've seen also somebody focusing on decommissioning, but if you look at the whole life cycle, maybe the decision making will prioritize more environment friendly solutions, because ultimately the benefits will be ripe over the life cycle and not just at the very beginning, where, let's say, it hurts the taxpayer. At this point, that's all I wanted to say, Lisette. Thank you.
Is the director for an healthy planet of the European Commission, so is a strong reference for us for the activities of the partnership, and we would like to say thank you for being here with us. And I don't know if you want to share some short ideas.
Very short, don't do short. So I was actually really enjoying listening and learning for a change. And Panos, it's always extraordinary how people are actually interacting in their world of work. I've learned more about dredging in the last few minutes and what it's about. All I want to say is the work you're doing here is extraordinarily important and timely. The fact that the partnership, which is really set off in a very ambitious way to change the context and how we align the work that we need to do in this type of decision, is moving very well. The fact you're here, I want to thank our colleagues in the Mission BANOS for bringing the partnership and the mission together. Even the focus is just on OFC, small place, with not big small problems, not at all. Because I think we're moving into a really extraordinary phase. You probably have seen that, I think actually President John Hannes here, President von der Leyen's commission has been confirmed by the Parliament this morning. And that means that it's all systems go on the Ocean Pact. We now have a commissioner who is a commissioner for oceans and fisheries. He has a requirement to have us to actually deliver an Ocean Pact, which is for the first time a joint up EU policy on the oceans, in which his mission letter says there must be a strong research and innovation strategy to deliver this, and that the mission must be working together. That is in his mission letter. So that's what he will be judged against by the Parliament and by the President. It is a remarkable, it's only high. It's a remarkable opportunity. I know our colleagues in Mari are feeling 10 feet tall at the moment when the work hits. So this is a really important moment in the cycle of moving from a lot of the analysis and framing of the last couple of years, the Green Deal, and what we should do, into how are we going to do this. And so the partnership and aligning and prioritizing in signaling back to those of us who are working on the side of the Commission or the institutions of support. We will also have a new Commissioner for Research and Innovation, Sarajevo. In her mission letter, she's required to deliver the missions. That's one of the things she has to do, as well as the small detail, the next framework program and that kind of thing. Small detail. So it's a really important window at the moment. It's not a time to be flagging in terms of energy. It's a time to start drawing some conclusions. I think in the mission, we're going to be looking at the lighthouse and so forth. I'm being asked to account and report to the political level and say, right, what happens next as we move into the deployment phase? How does the mission become an enabler in these different sea basins of bringing governance together? I think the point of governance has been raised a couple of times this morning. What do we do about governance in the mission that makes it easy for the people trying to fix these problems to have a really big impact? So there'll be a lot to do. So just before, I don't think it's between you and your lunch or your sleep or whatever it is you do next. I try to combine the two normally at this stage of my life. Just kidding. This is a really important moment, and thank you for the work that since the start in Rome, I think the work that's been done in the partnership is really important. One last thing for the colleagues who are here from member states, and that the value of the partnerships to the member states needs to be communicated to the political authorities, because the people who are looking at the future of the framework program and so forth, very far away from the research world, don't understand just exactly what is being achieved here. So that's a really important part of the ministry as well. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I don't have to sing or anything now. It could be just a few words, okay? Thanks.
The first one is foster the full scientific knowledge for effective administration, which is addressed. And the second is sustainable industrial force integrated with social system. That's those with dredging issue. The third one is enhanced marine and maritime surveillance. That is not really covered in our session, so I apologize for that. I couldn't find the speaker. And the fourth and last thing is the development of innovative position support tools, and that is really close to the integrated area determination and moving. So we have some questions we would like to. I would like to share some questions with you. The first one to Ulrich actually is how are measures to protect the ecosystem taken into account in the monitoring and evaluation and can I say something on that?
Yeah, thank you. We talked earlier about the vision, and well, I would say even against the will of our ministry, the federal ministry in charge of maritime spatial planning in Germany, we were successful to come up with a vision for our plan. I don't know, we're not maybe good in Germany developing visions. So we have a vision in our plan, and of course the vision does include the sustainability of the marine development and the lack, ecological lack of the sustainability features then very prominently in MSP. But even before we start monitoring and evaluation, how our plan hopefully protects or improves the good environmental status and doesn't do too many significant effects on the marine environment. During plan preparation, it is accompanied with a strategic environmental assessment. So the assumption is from the start on, the plan should be not harmful to the marine environment but the contrary should be true. But of course, things do change, policies do change. If you think of Germany, when we started preparing the plan, that was adopted in 2021, so we started in 2018. Our very ambitious offshore wind goals were not there yet. So while we were preparing our plan, these very ambitious wind offshore targets were set. And I think we can agree that offshore wind parks do have an impact on the marine environment. So I'm what Jonas to say, things do change and we have to have an eye on it. And then through monitoring and evaluation, see what's the new situation in relation to what we put in the plan to protect the marine environment. So this is what we do, and we could use then the same method we apply during the strategic environmental assessment process, where we judge, well, we have a provision for putting offshore wind in place, and then we go through the list and it's legally protected environmental goods, or the marine environment as a whole, or the biodiversity is impacted by that. And then there's a statement, and that statement or that conclusion is put into the environmental report of the assessment. And with the same methodology, they can then, after a certain time, go through the same process and make then a judged or an informed statement to see if during or after adoption of the plan, during the implementation of the plan and things happening, if that is still valid and if that provision or the plan as a whole would significantly impact on the marine environment, and that would then be a trigger to do adaptation of the plan. And we have, I also want to maybe explain that, also specific provisions in the plan, so in relation to offshore wind and birds or bird migration, and we have provisions that during mass migration events, if in a certain area where also wind parks can be built, if there's a collision of interest, so to say, the wind turbines need to be shut off. So these things are already in the plan, but then through looking and monitoring, okay, what actually is happening, we can make informed decisions.
I think that's a very clear answer. Yes, I was wondering whether any questions or comments from the room from you, spatial planning measures, evaluation. One, okay. So can I continue with you? We would like to know from your experience what would be a way to implement building with nature?
Okay, so building up on what Ulrich just said, what I will emphasize is that I presented building with nature to ICs that was mentioned earlier, and I asked them, is this a suitable ecosystems approach? And they said no, because it's not holistic enough. It's only applying to waterborne infrastructures. But I changed my question and said, would you implement building with nature in the context of an ecosystems approach when you are targeting waterborne infrastructures? And the answer was yes. So fundamentally, what we are talking about is a system approach. So the solution that can be brought by the building with nature needs to fit into the system. And how do you define the system? Then you have the monitoring and evaluation, and maybe you assess it through ecosystem services. These are, let's say, the services that are currently given by the nature, and we want them after your project or during the project to remain. So how do you do this? And that's how things are starting to get interesting. And then we have to have this multidisciplinary approach. So how to implement building with nature? We asked a question to Wetlands International, and they say for any new product, you need to try to cross the Death Valley before it's streamlined. So there's an economical approach where you are piloting and then progressively you get closer to the mainstream, but the mainstream, once it's reached, then it's a normal feature. And my proposal in my presentation was to work also on the governance, so that the governance is promoting or not blocking new approaches, including, let's say, nature solutions or building with nature. How do you do this? Well, one solution I'm proposing to the Commission, because I hear there's a presence, is to align, for instance, the public procurement requirements to the requirements of, let's say, the green taxonomy. So the green taxonomy is setting certain goals. Why don't we align these requirements so that the financing demand from the bankers is met by the client's demands? I'm an economist, so that's one thing in my fact. Supply push, demand pull, and then we have an efficient approach. Yeah, that will be my answer.
Yeah, I agree completely with you. I was wondering, in the room, are there any examples of governments, promoting or not blocking nature-based solutions, for instance, in dredging, maybe other activities? Do we have some examples of this?
I think there were already a couple of examples in the presentation that Paris gave, and well, the ones that I know of are, for instance, the sound engine in front of the Dutch coast, using clay from the, I think it's from the Amsterdam Arch, using that inland, so the history doesn't soak up too much, etc. So yes, there are a few that I know of in the Netherlands, but also where EcoShape is already active for quite a few years, so about a decade or so.
Maybe other examples without outside of the Netherlands? You may not be aware of it. Okay, thank you. Then the next and last question to our panel would be what type of projects where SWEP can help your subjects. What kind of topics do you think is useful to progress either MSP or nature-based solutions for dredging and other human activities?
Yeah, I think what would help us, and maybe not concrete projects, but topics that would be really of interest for us. I think we still need a better understanding of the interactions between the various economic activities at sea and how they play together. And that also goes a bit into the direction of multi-use. And I mean, we have the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative we've seen this morning, where multi-use and concepts of multi-use are a topic. In Germany, we have a consultancy working on a big project developing a multi-use concept for the German EEZ, that will one hopefully help us when we come to a new revision of our MSP to give us some valuable input into that. And if we talk about interaction between human activities and then taking the marine environment into account, we automatically come to cumulative impact assessments. So yeah, we know what the wind park might do to the marine environment, but combine that with other uses of big question. And I think we really do need to answer that. I mean, there's work ongoing, also in the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative. This cumulative impact assessment is a big topic with the North Sea Energy Corporation, where CIA is a topic. So work is being done, but I think we do not have the final results on that. And I talked about monitoring and evaluation of the plans or the implementation of the plans. We have a bit of problem in the EU that each country is doing MSP differently, and also the outcome of the plan are very different. So we have strategic plans, we have legally binding plans. That makes it then very, very different to come up with a simple solution for M&E, which can be applied. I think first we need to create a common understanding, and I think we have come also through projects like EMSP to improve the understanding what M&E is. But I do remember discussions, what are we actually looking at in M&E? And we need to then develop, and then projects could help here to develop proper tools to monitor and evaluate our maritime spatial plans. And in the end, if you come up with a report, an evaluation report, and we say, and also the other thing, we do it ourselves. So we evaluate our own plan, and after 5 years, we say, hey, the plan was great. And other people might disagree. So we need to convince, and we need to have a proper methodology how we assess the impact of the plan. So also to be, the results can be accepted by the stakeholders, can be recognized and accepted by the stakeholders. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a futile exercise.
So I will not repeat myself, but I will give some further lines of thought. So SBEP can, let's say, finance pilots. So we are building up more pilots and maybe able to cross this valley of death afterwards. I will also take a lead from your book, Lisette, because at the very beginning you mentioned something very important that can help us. You mentioned adaptive management. So it is a declination of the precautionary principle in which we actually open the door for knowledge building. And I'm not surprised that you mentioned the Netherlands several times, because this approach is not riskless, but is controlling risk. So adaptive management, basically, you start a project with an idea. You need adaptive monitoring, meaning that if your monitoring is correct, you don't adapt it. If it's not correct, adapt it so that you can measure exactly what you need to know before you make the decision. So after a few weeks or a few months, depending on the risk, you check your methods. Are they okay? Are they not? Can your method be adapted? And if not, then you have to stop. Otherwise, adaptive management is a very positive approach to actually fill some of the gaps. So even if we have to stop, we know that this doesn't work, so let's not do it again. And vice versa. When you adapt, you see, okay, we build new knowledge, we are innovative in certain way, we are progressing. So my message to SBEP is continue finance pilots and continue build knowledge and apply certain methods that promote or facilitate such knowledge.
Also develop a range of methods so you can choose between methods, because that helps the adaptive management, I would say. Yeah, it is 5 minutes past 1, so actually the lunch has started. I don't want to spend more of your lunch time, so please get the lunch. Do you want to say something?
Only that I hope to meet you again at 2 o'clock when we will recommence with the last session, and with the World Cafe, which is a special moment for us, guided by our colleague Olivier, to learn from you which are your specific needs in the region. And this is a very constructive moment of the workshop. Thank you for coming again after the lunch. Ciao.
Hey.